All right. And we are live. So, welcome to episode 234 of American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, he's got the light. Working with him there. We've got the Ryan Shirley. Yes.
Nice. Yep.
Yes. He's being illuminated.
That's it. Everything is illuminated.
That's yes, especially those frames on your glasses. Yes,
that's it.
All right. Now we've got. Let's see. Just below him, we've got Billy Don Bia. Billy Don Bia.
If you can't get that reference, I feel really
Does
bad.
it have something to do with one of your heroes?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
It's my work.
Rule of the flutes. Come on. Eric not to get that. That's before his time.
Billy Don Bia.
Don't be Billy, don't be a
hero. Oh, don't be a hero.
Yes.
Well, why don't you just spell it out? This isn't a fucking Sudoku.
Spelled right there. It's in English. You guys went
a fucking Wordle. There's going to be a Wordle riddle in the next fucking episode
Wordle,
or something. Yeah, you know.
I'll
have to bring Julia in to decipher it. Julia, what are you saying? All right, now get out, Julia. Jesus.
Now I see why Bill's here only like once a month or so, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was your fault, Bill.
And we got Eric from Hey Internet.
Yep. See, you got him all fired up, and now he's frozen.
Well, he deserves it. It's karma.
He deserves it.
Karma wheel's coming around.
That's it.
What are we talking?
There he is. You were frozen, dude.
You were frozen there, Mike.
Really? And now, all right. So we're back. Where was I? John K. Alvarez, Jason Momoa's stunt double, could not be here tonight. So he had, unfortunately, some Hollywood commitments. So, we will miss John. We haven't seen him in a good long while. It'll be nice to have him back on the show, but I'm sure it'll happen sooner rather than later. He couldn't be here tonight, and I'm kind of bummed about it. Even though I was giving him a hard time a couple of minutes ago, because I was saying that when John gave me his list, he didn't just give me the list like the rest of it. He wrote like a fucking 10-line paragraph behind every character. I'm like, I'm not fucking reading this. Just give me fucking names, man. Jesus Christ. But all the same, I am sad that he couldn't be here. And we are just the same. Yeah. So we'll get him back on here soon.
Yeah.
So Ryan actually had a good idea, and I don't mean to make it sound exactly like that, but Ryan actually had a good idea. And it was for, because we were always doing these top fives and top tens, and top tens are too fucking long. But we cut it down to top five. And then he had an idea for top 5 heroes. And I was thinking, wow, that's really fucking good, because you don't want to get into genres and, because then there's just too much over. Yeah, we did villains, and that turned out okay. And they're always fun, but heroes are a different thing entirely. So I looked up real quick. I think Ryan texted me, and I just looked up real quick what the definition of a hero is. And it basically comes out as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievement, or noble qualities. So I didn't want to, cross the line over into antiheroes or villains that we think are cool. Like Tyler Durden is not a hero.
No,
Heath Ledger's Joker is not a hero.
No. The Punisher.
The Punisher, not a hero. Kind of close, but no, he's fucking serial killer. So, hey, what we don't have enough of nowadays in the movies are heroes. So we came up with our lists with zero overlap.
Wow, I'm surprised. Jeez.
Well, once we eliminated, what we did was we eliminated comic book characters.
Yeah.
And then we only allowed one fantasy character per person.
Yep.
So that eliminated the possibility of a lot of overlap because I didn't want to see 6 fucking Frodos up there. That's just, it's fucking lazy. So that was a great idea by Eric. But here we are, top 5 movie heroes. If you guys are ready to go, shall we get it going?
Yeah, buddy.
Let's do it.
Boogie woogie. So the way we're going to operate this, and we're going to get right into it, everybody gets 5 through 1, but you also get 1 honorable mention. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with the honorable mentions. We're going to go Ryan, Bill, and then Eric, and then I'm going to go last. And then we're going to go 5 through 1. Okay? And the reason I put people this way is because that's the way that I ordered the overlays.
Okay.
Hey, we got the functioning drunk. He said, hey, let's get this party started. So let's get it going. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks, Dennis.
All right, let's go with Ryan. Your honorable mention, and then whatever discussion. Let's not go too far, and then we can just go right on.
Yep. All right. So my honorable mention actually comes from one of my favorite movies, The Great Escape. My honorable mention is Captain Virgil Hilt's The Cooler King. All right, played by Steve McQueen. Hiltz is the quintessential smart-ass American soldier. He has no problem talking back to the Germans. He's called the Cooler King for this reason, because he's always getting thrown in the cooler for his insubordination.
Okay.
He's why I picked him as a hero, because he's a soldier. He was a POW. If you know anything about the movie, he's one of the few who actually survives at the end. He doesn't escape, though, but he does make his sacrifice in that he does it for his buddy Ives, the Scottish guy who is in the cooler with him, who becomes kind of his best friend, because he's one of 3 American soldiers in the entire camp. And he doesn't really commiserate with the other guys, with the English and the Allied soldiers and stuff that are in there. They're kind of doing their own thing with the escapes. He's doing his own thing with the escapes. He originally doesn't want anything to do with them. Him and Ives have the whole thing worked out. And it's not until that major turning point in the movie where Ives gets killed trying to climb the fence. That's where the movie, I think, gets turned serious. When he gets killed trying to climb the fence, or essentially commit suicide, that's when Hiltz does what they ask him to do. What Richard Attenborough's character asks him to do is to go out, to make an escape, to survey the countryside and find out all these checkpoints and stuff, turn himself in so they can get the information they need. He originally didn't want to do that. But like I said, it wasn't until Ives was killed that he finally realized that, look, this is bigger than me and him. Everybody else is trying to get out of here too. Everybody else is trying to get home. And he, as we see, aids in the escape. He's at the front of the tunnel kind of surveying things. He kind of helps them get some guys out. But ultimately, as I said, he's one of the few who ends up getting caught and sent back to the Stalag Luft 3 and back in the cooler, as is the final joke of the movie. But yes, he's kind of like the reluctant hero. He's a war hero, like I said, but he's kind of the reluctant guy who was kind of placed in this position where he has to act. He does it for his buddy Ives, and then realizes, look, the bigger picture is if we help these guys, if we help Bartlett and all those guys realize their dream of getting 250 guys out of here, we might just be able to do it. So,
all right. Yeah, I saw this movie once. It was really good.
I love it. Yeah.
It's very sad.
watched
Yeah,
it
it's kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Donald Pleasance. There's a lot of good people in it.
Oh, it's got a great cast. And I said that generation of actors was so awesome because all those guys were real military veterans, and some of them were actually POWs. Yep. I mean, Donald Pleasance was a POW in a German camp. So a lot of these guys brought their own experience into that movie. And funny enough, McQueen didn't even want to do it at first because he thought, being McQueen, he thought he wasn't going to do anything cool. And it took James Garner and James Coburn to kind of convince him, look, man, this is a great opportunity for you. And it was McQueen's request that he use the motorcycle, that famous scene where he jumps the fence on the motorcycle. That was kind of his thing. But I like that he gets caught. I like that he doesn't make it out. Only 3 of them escape. Bronson, Coburn, and the other guy who's with Bronson, his buddy. They're the only ones who completely escape. Pleasance gets killed. Garner gets caught. Attenborough gets killed. A lot of them, yeah. So I like the fact that Hiltz doesn't get killed, but he gets caught. He still makes the sacrifice to help in his own way. So.
All right. Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the next one then. Bill, what do you got for us?
Wait, honorable mention. Honorable mention?
Yeah, it's not number 5. It's honorable mention. Let me tell you
real quick, because it's just an honorable mention, but I had a ton of leftovers when I made this list, and this is the best one. I'm always happy when I can discuss something Lloyd Kaufman. So my honorable mention is Toxie from Toxic Avenger.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes.
There he is. Look at that.
There it is. I love this movie. I saw it at a little art theater when it first came out. It's the greatest thing ever. It's the only superhero from New Jersey. Gets turned into a superhero because he falls in a vat of toxic goo. And he's sort of doing like the Revenge of the Nerds thing. He's taking revenge for all the kids who were put down and beat up by the jocks. And it's just a cool hero from the 80s.
I've never seen it. I don't see myself getting around to it at this point.
Marissa Tomei is in it.
She's in it for like 10 seconds. It doesn't
count. Yeah, she's in
Marissa Tomei. She's one of the gym rats. Yeah, I've got all 4 movies on Blu-ray.
I thought they make it.
And I'm still waiting on that fucking remake to come out with Peter Dinklage.
It's a remake. Okay.
Yeah, and Kevin Bacon's in it, Elijah Wood, and it's been released and done the theater run, but the festival run. It's just still waiting in limbo for a distributor.
I can't wait.
Is Trauma doing the new one?
I know Lloyd Kaufman is an executive producer. I think so because there's a lot of references and like Trauma trademarks, like
to other Trauma movies,
like trademark images in the movie. So I'm sure it's.
I hope they filmed it like on the same locations and all. Nothing
budget.
Better than that. He's holding the mop over his head, and you have that vista of that Jersey town.
What are his powers?
He doesn't have powers. He just grows big and strong. He's like a little skinny wimp. He grows huge. But he's got one messed up eye and he turns green.
And his girlfriend is blind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. His girlfriend's blind, like the Thing's girlfriend is blind.
Yeah, Lloyd said he honestly stole that from the Fantastic Four, making the girlfriend blind. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You're not missing anything with the sex scene between Toxic Avenger and her, but
maybe you are, man. Everybody's got a kink, so
I don't see it.
My favorite part is when he takes the evil, beautiful woman and just puts her on the the spa rocks. And
Yeah.
how do you like this, hot ass?
Yeah.
I just remember that from 30 years ago. It's hilarious.
It's a free country, mostly. All right. So let's carry on. Eric, what do you got for us? Your honorable mention.
My honorable mention, I'm an 80s and 90s kid, so I would it would be wrong if I didn't have a little Schwarzenegger on my list. So I threw him on as an honorable mention. I picked the Terminator from Terminator 2 Judgment.
All right.
Okay, sure.
There he is.
He's a good one. He's a good one.
The reason why I picked him specifically was, it's that scene when they're in Mexico, and Sarah Connor says it blatantly. I mean, I could paraphrase it. I don't know the actual quote, but she says, it took a machine to be more of a father to my son than his actual father. And that wasn't a slight, what happened to his actual father. But, this isn't a man who will get drunk and yell and beat the kid. This is someone who will be there till the end and will die to protect him. And it does, basically, it's the perfect scene right there is when he's standing watch. You know what I mean? He's looking out on the highway at nighttime, and then Cameron has that great fade into when it's like, it's nighttime, and then it fades into dawn. And he hasn't moved a fucking muscle. You know what I mean? He's the perfect watchdog, the perfect protector. And then he ends up being the perfect, protector of Sarah as well. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I really love it so much is it's a complete 180 from him as the evil robot in the original one. You know what I mean? A lot of people say when Arnold was the Terminator, there isn't much acting to him, which is kind of true, but there's more to it than there really is when you get to sit down and look at it. So
I like that they chose to make him, they kept him for the second movie, but that they chose to make the T-800
it was a great twist.
Good one now. It was neat. Yeah. And because they upgraded to the T-1000. Well,
it was interesting because in the original film, there were several people that they had interviewed to play the Terminator. Yeah. And one of them was Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Which would have been an interesting pick. He was one of them. But, I mean, the idea that they eventually went with in the second movie was that the Terminator was going to be more human-looking. Mm-hmm. Like Robert Patrick, he just, he can pass in the street. Whereas Schwarzenegger at that point, everybody was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is like a gorilla. He was built like the Hulk, So turning him into the good guy this time was really cool with a much smaller protagonist that was kicking his ass.
Yeah.
That was great. That was great.
My favorite scene is still the one where he's like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. And
when he wipes out the biker bar. Yeah.
Completely butt naked, just beats all the guys up.
Yeah. He throws that guy on the fucking hot stove. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's awesome. He throws him on the Yeah.
All right, let's move on. That brings me to myself. Honorable mention. I went with a movie that I just think is great, and it has kind of a serious bent. I went with Christian Bale's character, Captain Joe Blocker, in Hostiles.
Wow, good one.
If you haven't seen Hostiles, you should. Okay. It is a brutal fucking Western. Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike, Wes Studi. Christian Bale.
Very well.
It's one of my all-time favorite Westerns, and nobody talks about it, of course.
Because it's realistic.
Christian Bale is one of the soldiers who is basically in charge of bringing renegade Indians to ground. Basically, they've all been sent to either the prisons or the reservations, except for the ones that run off. And he's one of those guys that is in charge of bringing them back, usually pretty roughly. He's a veteran of the Indian Wars, and both sides have a long history of just butchering each other. And then one day he is assigned by who's only in it for 5 minutes. Stephen Lang is his commanding officer, who assigns him a duty of escorting one of his arch rivals during the wars, played by Wes Studi, who's now dying of cancer, to his place of his native land, which is in Montana. And it is just a horror show. Like Lonesome Dove, like 1883, they just get ground up, the Indians and the soldiers on this trip. what ends up happening is, and why I picked him as a hero, I mean, that's the plot of the film, is that he starts out the film much like what Marty said about Ray Fiennes. The brutality is just monotony to him. It really is. It's just monotony to him. But what he realizes at the end is that the people that he's hated, these Native Americans who killed so many of his friends, also lost friends in a very similar fashion to him.
Yeah.
And so it's a Hollywood adaptation. I don't know that these sort of reconciliations actually happened in real life. Maybe there's one somewhere. But it's just a fantastic movie as he starts to become a human being again, instead of this sort of emotionless road like you could smell the PTSD on him and his men. And it's just a fantastic movie. It's super brutal. And he's just a great character. There are so few characters left at the end still alive.
Yeah,
I never heard of this movie.
It's pretty. I thought it was pretty bold, that kind of movie, because again, it's very realistic of what happened, and like with the Comancheros and the stuff in the beginning with the family and all that, like that stuff happened. I mean, it's
the first 5 minutes you just watch a family get butchered.
And it's just not. It's not seen because, you know, in Hollywood Westerns, we can't show that. But I read, you know, the Lonesome Dove series is one of my favorite book series. And that kind of stuff happens in those books because it actually did happen. I mean, there were some tribes who were not nice. And, you know, there were some.
None of them were nice to each other.
Yeah, the Comancheros were scumbags. I mean, and they weren't all necessarily Native Americans either. They were criminals. You know, but it's really you know, after watching it with you, Mike, I think I got the DVD because it's brutal, but I'd say it's an honest portrayal of things in the West. You know,
it's a beautiful film. It really is a beautiful film. If you get a chance, see it.
You said West Studi? West Studi?
Yeah, West Studi.
West Studi.
And
I like him a lot.
What's his name? Adam Beach is in it too.
Adam Beach, Timothy Chalamet is in it.
And Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang is in it. And for 20 minutes, he's in it. And he steals the whole fucking movie, as always, Ben Foster.
And what's her name? Rosamund Pike.
Good.
Yeah, I mentioned Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to number 5. Ryan, what do you got for us? Numero cinco.
Keeping in tune with the Westerns, I had to go with my favorite Western and one of my favorite Western characters. My favorite Western is the outlaw Josie Wales, and I had to go with Josie Wales. All right. Some people would argue that Josie is an anti-hero. But I think he actually makes a journey to being a hero. As if you've seen the movie, obviously his family was killed by Union soldiers, and that essentially turned him into a monster because he joined Quantrill's Raiders. And if you know anything about Quantrill's Raiders and William Quantrill was a Confederate soldier who was a disgusting. He was a criminal. He was a robber. He was violent. He was a rapist. They did terrible things. And Josie joins up with these guys out of revenge for what happened to his family. But then after that, you know, he's taken captive with the other Confederate prisoners and ultimately betrayed. And he's on the run. And he just wants to be alone. And who does he have with him? Sam Bottom's character, Jamie. And at first he's reluctant to be with this kid because he's holding him up and all this stuff. And then, you know, he grows to like, in Josie's own gruff way, he kind of grows to like this kid. And, you know, Jamie dies. And then what I like about his journey is that he lost one family, but he gains another. He's got a family of misfits that kind of follow him around. He doesn't want them, but they're there. I mean, he's got Chief Dan George. He's got the other Native American girl, Little Moonlight. He's got the old woman. He's got Sandra Locke. He's got all these people who like depend on him. But in his own way, he also depends on them, even though he doesn't want to admit it, you know? And he ends up with this family. I think he's a hero in that he is willing at the end to die for them, and that he makes that. When my favorite scene is when he goes out to see Will Sampson, 10 Bears, and makes that pact with him and says, look, we'll basically, in the long and short of it, we'll respect your land if you respect ours, and we'll respect each other. And he makes that cut in his hand, and they do like kind of the blood oath thing to protect each other. I mean, he's a badass, but he also has this new family to protect. And I think that's awesome. You know, he starts out with nothing and ends up with something. And then at the end of the movie, he rides off bleeding. It's ambiguous. We don't know if he's going to die or not. But again, this family, he's got the love from this family, this kind of motley crew. And I think it's just a great portrayal. I mean, politics aside and the author of the book aside and all that stuff, I think the movie far outweighs the book. And I think it's one of the instances where the movie's way better than the book. And it was bold for Clint Eastwood to portray this Confederate soldier as the good guy, you know, because as we know,
it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Usually it's always the Union guy.
And as we know, war is hell and people do bad things. And I think Josie kind of gets some redemption at the end by taking this family under his wing and doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's mine.
All right, fair enough. That's a good movie. I've enjoyed watching it many times. I do believe that he lives at the end. He goes back to his family. You know, they the war's over. I tell him that the war is over. I think Yeah. That's a good pick. That's a good pick. All right, Bill, what do you got for us? Numero 5, more than 4, less than 6.
All right. Seeing as it's Shark Week, I was thinking Chief Brody from Jaws.
All right.
Very good.
And for Christ's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July.
No, that's not him.
Exactly.
I know that's not him. I had to get a Larry Vaughn reference in there.
This is another reluctant hero, although he is in a position where he's supposed to be a hero. You know, he is the law on this little island, but he's overcoming a bunch of things. And if you read the book, it goes in deeper about how he's running from being a policeman in the big city. He's running from his failed marriage. He's running from a lot of stuff going on in his life. And when the shark causes all this chaos in his little seaside town, he has to step up in a big way. And he becomes this fulcrum, the focus of both the movie and the book. He's stuck between these two huge, very flawed, big personality people that he's stuck with, and he is sort of the central point of the seesaw. He's got Quint on one hand, the guy who knows everything, the guy who's been around forever, and then you got Hooper, the young guy, smart ass and doesn't want to listen to anybody. And I recently saw The Shark is Broken with my wife up in New York.
Oh yeah, how was that?
And it goes in even deeper about how real life reflected the movie, in that Roy Scheider wound up being this sort of same type of character stuck in between the two actors who were feuding all the time.
Dreyfus
that's funny.
Really ambitious young guy, and then the old Shakespearean actor. And in both the film and in real life, Brody Scheider is the real hero. Sticks to his guns and sees the mission through, and ultimately is the one that comes out on top. Obviously, the book is very different than the movie. Hooper gets in the cage, and there is no exploding.
Yeah, Hooper's Hooper's a jerk in the book. Yeah.
Doesn't he sleep with Brody's wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
part of the whole hero's journey. He has to get over that and find a way.
Yeah, he gets killed in the cage scene.
I guess I'm not reading it now. Okay.
Yeah, and the shark
he gets eaten, and then Brody sticks his head into the salt water, and he's trying to see what's going on, and the shark swims down into the darkness with like Hooper's arms flying off. That's basically,
maybe I will read it. Maybe I will read it. I don't know.
It goes in really deeply about his fear of the water. It touches it on the movie. You know, how he hates the water.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be out on a boat. In the book, he goes out day after day, getting on this boat and going out looking for the shark. It's not, you know, they're out one night and then the thing is over. They go out day after day, and he's got to overcome this fear of the being on the boat and being out in the water day after day after day, as the stakes get harder and harder and harder, and he has to push himself onto that boat. So that's you know, the hero's journey that I see in Brody.
I've always felt bad that Roy Scheider never got his due, because I thought he was a good actor, but like, you know, every time you see him, I mean, and I appreciate seeing him. Like Eric and I enjoyed him in the Dracula 2000 series, where he's like the Monsignor. But like he always got these bit roles, and he was like the star of like one of the biggest movies of all time. His career, and I mean, it should have skyrocketed. He should have been like on the A-list in Hollywood, and he never was.
Well, one of the biggest,
choreographer in that dancing movie.
One of the biggest, you know,
all that jazz
supporting role. Yeah, he was in the French Connection. He played the supporting role. Marathon Man, he played a supporting. Those were granted. Those I think were before or about the same year as Jaws. I forget, but
Jaws was 75.
Yeah,
Eric, what were you gonna say?
I was saying, you know, one of our favorite entertainment movies, you know, me and you, Mike, is Thomas Jane's The Punisher, and he shows up as Tom Jane's dad. For like 10, 15 minutes. And when I saw that in theaters, I didn't know Roy was still making movies at the time. You know what I mean? And it's surprising because he was on that TV show, what was it, Sequest? And Sequest was real popular for like
Jonathan
3-4 seasons in the mid 90s. It was on TV for a while. It got a lot of ratings. He was the main star, and
maybe I'm not giving him his due. Okay, maybe I missed it. I don't know. I seem to have missed.
No, you're not. I think he just got lucky to get that role, and it was on for like 3 or 4 seasons. You really don't really see him pop up that much.
I thought he was a good actor.
He never really broke out as a leading man. He just settled into being a character actor.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's better, you know.
Well, sometimes, but I mean, you know, like I would have put, you know, not that he has the physicality, but I mean, you know, character actors like Ron Perlman, like he's a character actor, but you see him like all the things and everything, and he's like got cool casting, and like I would have liked to have seen Roy Scheider. I don't know if he had bad representation or something.
Maybe
well, you know, a lot of people
of his projects, you know.
And a lot of people who appear in those kind of roles
or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people who appear in those kind of roles, they get typecast, the role they're known for. I mean, after Jaws, it was probably harder for him to get work because that was his lightning in a bottle moment. And
well, I mean, he did do the second one.
Yeah, well, he had to. He didn't want to, but
he didn't want to.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Eric, number 5. What do you got for us, man?
Okay. When we said no superheroes and we said one fantasy character, you know, allowed per person, I really wanted to do some deep dives. You know what I mean? So literally what I did is I was, you know, making my list. I was sitting on my couch and I was looking at my collection and I'm like, what are my favorite movies just to begin with? You know what I mean? Sure. And then I also thought, who are my favorite actors? And if you know me, my favorite actor of all time is Kurt Russell.
Yeah, man.
But then I wanted to say, what role of his is actually a hero? Like, not just, you know, in over the top roles,
not just cool,
but also in like, where he's not like fucking Elvis or anything like that, but in everyday life. And one of my favorite movies of all time, no one talks about, is Backdraft. So I picked his character of Stephen McCaffrey from Backdraft.
Yeah, wow.
And if you sit down, if you sit down and think about it, what's one of the biggest heroes in real life is a firefighter.
Fireman.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just stopping the fires, but, you know, saving people and this and that. And what I loved about Kurt Russell or Stephen McCaffrey's character is his father was a firefighter who died on the job site. And he is now looking after his little brother, played by William Baldwin. And he's already he's the captain. He's the hero to his whole crew. And there's like, you know, there's bad blood between the two brothers because, you know, Steven's overstepping his bounds, you know, kind of drowning William Baldwin's character because he has to be the protector. And what I like about Steven character is he's again like an everyday guy. He's going through a divorce. You know what I mean? You know, his relationship with his family is strained, you know, brothers and stuff like that. And then as we go along, it's this murder mystery, you know, in Backdraft, who is setting all these fires? Why are these specific people being targeted, you know, for these arson jobs? And you know, the movie's fucking 30 years old. When Steven finds out that it's someone that's in his group and someone that he grew up knowing, you know, it's Scott Glenn, you know, who was a partner of his dad to begin with. It's that tragic moment at the final act of the movie where they're in this factory and then the explosion's happening and it's literally Steven hanging onto a piece of equipment and he's, you know, hanging over 50, 100 feet of flames and just shit blowing up. And he's holding Scott Glenn's hand. And Scott just says, "Let me go, Bull." You know, his nickname's Bull because he runs into the fire like a bull. The motherfucker doesn't even wear a helmet. You know what I mean? I'm talking about Steven's character. And he says this iconic line, "You go, we go." You know what I mean? He's still loyal to his friend, even though his friend has done all of these dastardly actions, with, you know, murder, arson, all that stuff. And he goes down and he dies because when they both fall, he gets impaled on a pole. And it's one of his last things he gets to see. He gets to see his brother kind of take charge as a fireman. So it's kind of cool how his life goes full circle and it continues with his, you know, younger brother taking up the mantle. And it's one of, I think, Kurt Russell's best performances. It's an overlooked performance. It's an overlooked movie with a fantastic cast. Ron Howard directed it. You know, people keep forgetting, you know, when they say Ron Howard movies, they don't think of Backdraft. And like I said, Kurt's one of my he is my favorite actor of all time. I didn't want to go with something like, you know, from The Thing or Big Trouble in Little China or Snake Plissken. Even though I like those characters, I think the fact that Stephen McCaffrey is just an everyday Joe like us. He went when he's done, he goes home. He you know, he sits on the couch, you know, drinks a beer, watches the football game, and just tries to veg. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that makes it more relatable too. He's
got that cooler of beers on the boat, listening to Cream on an 8-track.
On an 8-track.
Yeah. That's the thing about Kurt Russell. And I've said this before. You know, Kurt Russell always kind of plays Kurt Russell. But he always plays like the working man.
Yes.
You know, he's like the working man. He's like the working man's hero.
Blue collar guy.
Yeah. He plays the blue collar guy, and he does it very well. He still does it very well. And I just saw him in the MonsterVerse series, Legacy, the Godzilla series over on Apple TV. And again, he plays the working man. You know, even at this age.
One thing about Kurt, like I love, you know, you're right. He's always the working man, but he makes it work in any type of role. You know, even if he's, you know, the Elvis impersonator in 10,000 Miles of Grace, 3,000 Miles, who's trying to rob banks, or even like those Netflix Santa Claus movies. He's playing Santa Claus, but this is a Santa Claus that he's kind of tired of doing the same thing over and over again. He's grumpy. He's a bit of an asshole. So that's what I like about Kurt. He
can also play.
That makes sense.
He can also play kind of a darker side of himself as Stuntman Mike in Death Proof. That's kind of like a darker version of Kurt Russell, you know, kind of a sadistic version of himself, I think, you know, the way he plays that.
All right. All right, well, let's move it on.
It's you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's me. Hey, it's back to me. Me. To quote Hugo Weaving, me. All right, so that brings me to number 5. And again, I picked someone a little more serious, and I'm not sure how many people saw this. I know Bill did, but he's a hero. He's just a hero. He's kind of a tragic hero, and he's an everyday man. In the worst possible situation that you could think of, conceive of. And he's just one of the best actors going out there. I know everybody loves him. I went with Viggo Mortensen as the man in The Road.
Yeah, okay.
Never seen it.
It is the best,
No,
if you ask me, apocalyptic film out there, based on the novel by Cormac McCarthy. It's not an action movie. It's not Mad Max Fury Road or Book of Eli or anything like that. It's about 10 years into an apocalyptic event where this man is just a father to this young boy that you see there, and he's just doing everything that he can to keep them both alive. At the start of the movie, everything that they have 10 years into the apocalypse is now in a shopping cart. He has one revolver with 2 bullets left when the film starts. Everything is dead. They actually filmed it in areas where natural disasters had occurred, like Hurricane Katrina, Mount St. Helens, so where the topography is still just, dead. Cannibalism is rampant. All the animals are gone. They've been eaten. People are eating each other. And it's just the story of this man doing everything that he can. He's an intelligent man. You got the impression that maybe he was a doctor before all of this went bad, just doing everything that he can to keep himself and his son alive. He really doesn't know what to do because there is nothing to do. The world is over with. And if you get I went all the way to, this didn't play locally here. I had to travel to Philadelphia to go see it in an art theater. This came after The Lord of the Rings and the 2 Cronenberg movies, and everybody thought that maybe he was going to get an Oscar nod, and it just got blown off completely. But if you ask me, he's just one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah, I like Vigo.
One of his best roles. It is not a happy movie. It is not a happy movie. Hold on a second.
Well, if it's Cormac McCarthy, it's definitely not.
What's that, Bill?
I'm just saying it's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite books. It's really a good job, and not a better pick for a true hero considering the story.
I don't want to give too much away because I know people here haven't seen it. Hold on.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
We've got Jason Momoa's stuntman himself, John K. Alvarez. What's happening, man?
How are you guys? How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Are you just stopping in, or are you joining us for the?
I'm joining in for a little bit before I got to go back to work, but I wanted to stop in and say, hey.
That's dedication, John. That's dedication.
Appreciate it, man.
Let me change my number 5. My number 5 is John.
That's it right there, baby. Burger Bar. So where we have a number?
Number 5. Do you want to get yours in? Do you remember
Sure,
what
you
it
got to
was?
remind me which one I picked because I don't have my list in front of me.
Okay, so number 5 from John K. Alvarez. Hold on, because I just started to delete some of yours out. I figured you weren't going to be here. I can bring it back up in a second. Is Richard Roundtree as Ben?
Yes. For those of you who have not seen it just yet, Richard Roundtree was his final movie, even though he passed away back in October. He left us one blast of a gem in a very low budget, but actually funnier than I was expecting comedy called Thelma.
Okay.
Starring June Briggs, Richard Roundtree, Malcolm McDowell.
Oh,
wow.
Is in it. Greg Carlson, Carlson, the guy who plays Carlson in Coulson, in all the Marvel movies.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the other woman that's in it. This is a great, funny movie, and it's about revenge, technically. June Spriggs, who you would know once you see her, an older actress, plays a grandmother who got scammed for about $10,000, and she has the information of the person who did it, so she goes to get her money back. But she needs the assistance and an electric scooter that's from her friend Ben, played by Richard Roundtree. Now, I picked Roundtree because he's the moral center of this movie, where everybody has alternative motives and things like that in this film, especially Thelma, to get revenge. He's the one that basically keeps them all on the moral high ground. In fact, the character Thelma refers to him as a little prissy because of how straight-laced he is. But he does such a fantastic job in this movie and very funny in it. And even at the end, at one point in time, when Thelma realizes that she's in over her head and completely wrong and she's never going to get it back and she feels like she's been destroyed as a person, Richard Roundtree steps up and gets her to where the guy is. And when she looks at him, he says, well, we've come this far. And he helps her complete her quest. Roundtree does a fantastic job, and it's filled with some great humor in it. Parker Posey, that's the other one I couldn't remember. She's in it.
Oh, all right. She's always good. She's always good.
It's a really, really good movie. And
Okay.
he was fantastic. And it was funnier than hell because he does a joke throughout the whole movie about having his hip replaced with a titanium hip. And when one of the bad guys tries to get by him, he hip checks him, and he flips up and over and went, titanium, baby. I mean, he's hysterical in this movie. But it's very funny. But he's actually the moral center who puts her on the right path. Suddenly you start rooting for her. And it's also funny. There's some genuine humor in this movie.
All right.
So that's why
we'll have to take it. We'll see if we can find it somewhere.
Yeah, it should start. We just closed it today.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's going to hit the streaming services soon.
Okay, all right. It's always cool that Roundtree was able to find work. I mean, I was glad to see him. He was in David. He was in Fincher 7. He was like the district attorney in 7 or something.
That's right.
That, Kevin Spacey's attorney has to make the deal with.
That's right.
Yeah, you saw him in a number of things, and I was just like, okay, because I mean, starting off with Shaft and all the blaxploitation stuff, you know, he really transitioned for the most part into some pretty decent character work from time to time.
Yeah,
he wasn't an A-lister or anything like that, but it was good to see that he was always working.
He always gave a good performance, man.
Yeah. John, how much time do you have?
I would say to play it safe, about 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay. Do you want to just do real quick your number 4?
Why not? Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, it's King Arthur, right?
Yours is from Searching Bobby Fischer, Max.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Wow. One of my favorite movies from 1993, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why I let it go before. I didn't see it before that because I saw it very late, was Searching for Bobby Fischer. Based on a true story about a boy named Josh who everyone realized he was playing chess at the age of like 9, 10, as good as Bobby Fischer was. And the thing about it was he's the central character. And for lack of a better term, he's also trying to please his father, who's a sports writer for the New York Daily News. And the point about it was, besides this young actor, which Michael, you would actually like him because I know you have a pet peeve with like young actors that are.
I've seen this movie. It's a good movie.
Acting cute and whatever. But this movie features this very talented boy, as well as early films of like Joan Allen, Joe Montana, Lawrence Fishburne, Ben Kingsley, Tony Shalhoub with a full afro and full beard before he did Wings, let alone doing Monk. And tons of other character actors that you would see. But the point about it is that the boy is a genuinely good boy. Good standards and everything else. And everyone's trying to manipulate him. The people who are training him for tests to go a certain way. The father's trying to manipulate him. There's a great scene where Joan Allen confronts her husband saying, you're changing him into something that he's not. He has to make the decisions himself. If you change him and break him to being that good boy, I'm taking him away from you because you're changing him. And the thing about it was, as in this 8-year-old to 10-year-old boy, he's going through the hero's journey and handling it so well to the point that even someone who is ranked better than him and plays the game better than him and confronts him, and he uses all the talents that he was shown by all the teachers. And when it comes to the point where he could be this cruel person or still be the nice boy, he chooses the option of being nice. And the thing is, he still wins because the other competitor is a prick. He offered him, for lack of a better term, when it came to the final game, when he realized he could win in like 7 moves, he offered his competitor a draw to share this title. And when the kid just basically says, just move, you see him kind of just roll his eyes like a 10-year-old boy, go, okay, and then basically kicks his ass. And he even tells his father, I tried to help him. And his father was more proud of him doing the right thing than becoming a prick. This is a brilliant movie, and it has one of my favorite closing lines in it next to Casablanca. Louis, this is beginning of a beautiful friendship. And I'm not telling you, you got to watch the movie.
Okay.
It's a good flick. It's a good flick. I haven't seen it in a while.
Sounds a lot like Wonka. Same kind of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah. Same kind of.
It's actually funny. There's some funny moments in it. When he's playing in the park with Lawrence Fishburne, it's hysterical.
I remember that. Yeah, those were good. All right, number 4. We've moved on. We got John to jump the line because he's cool enough to stop in on his break from work, and we appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
But that transitions us. John was set up for number 4, but that brings us to Ryan. Your number 4 pick, Ryan. What do you got for us?
All right, my number 4 follows the tragic hero trajectory, and since we were talking a little bit about Vigo and Lord of the Rings, I was originally going to go with Aragorn, but I decided to go with my favorite character, Boromir, as the tragic hero. I love Sean Bean, and I love his portrayal of Boromir. In the book, I remember reading the book, and I didn't care much for Boromir in the book. But in the movie, he's a fantastic character because he's not a jerk. He kind of resents Aragorn. There's a little bit of tension between them. He resents Aragorn because he thinks Aragorn's a punk and isn't assuming the throne. But he's a great person. Boromir's not this morally corrupt jerk. He's a war hero. He loves Faramir, his brother. He knows his dad's a jerk, but he does what he says anyway because Denethor expects it of him. He's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, and unfortunately, he's not as strong-willed as Aragorn. He's kind of the antithesis of Aragorn. He wants the ring for the right reasons, as for use in battle. It's going to help his people who are being ravaged by Mordor, but he has his will is too weak, and he succumbs for a little while to the lure of the ring, and he attacks Frodo. But then he is redemptive after that when he decides to save Merry and Pippin at the cost of his own life.
Scene.
I was shocked when I read that in high school, and I'm like, wait a minute, Boromir died? At the beginning of the second book.
Yeah.
But it's such a great, he's such a great character. And like I said, you see that kind of tension between him and Aragorn, because he kind of feels like he's living in Aragorn's shadow. Aragorn's this rock star warrior who's, everybody knows him, everybody's friends with him, but yet Aragorn's big secret is that he's the king of Gondor and won't assume the throne. And so, Boromir has a reason to kind of resent him, but he's a great character. I love, like I said, and it's a shame that Sean Bean was only in the first movie. And I love that Peter Jackson went back in the extended cut and put him in the second one in that flashback scene with Faramir and Denethor, and that he had a little blink cameo in the third one. But because he's such a great character, I honestly cried when he died in the movie. I mean, because it was just such a great scene, and that Aragorn finally accepts him, and that he accepts Aragorn as his king. That's a great moment between them when he kisses him on the forehead, and Gondor will not fall, or whatever he says.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
It's
and
easy.
I was just going to say, Aragorn's kind of actions going forward are not just for Frodo, but also for Boromir.
Yeah.
Right.
It's easy to make fun of Sean Bean for dying in all of his movies, or a lot of them,
Yeah.
or his
Almost
character
all.
dying all the
Almost
time.
all.
But
Yeah.
he's actually quite a good actor.
He is. Yeah.
I mean, Eric and I covered him in Possessor, where he just plays a fucking jerk. And man, that's a violent death in Possessor that he doesn't die, actually. He just takes a really fucking awful beating. But yeah, I mean, he's actually like a really good character actor. I loved him as Lord
I was
Eddard.
excited when I saw they cast him as Boromir. I was like, oh shoot, Sean Bean's awesome. Yeah.
I loved him in Goldeneye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remembered him from Goldeneye, and I was like, he was awesome in that. And when I saw he was cast as Boromir, I'm like, dude, that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
He was terrifying in Patriot Games.
Patriot
Games. That he was scary, man. Is that fucking IRA fucking zealot? Yeah, he's a scary motherfucker. Sean Bean's a great actor. I put him up there, right up there, if not just below Clancy Brown in terms of just great character acting.
Yeah, man, Clancy. Oh, the two of them in a movie together would be great.
Yeah, it would. All right, let's keep going. Bill, you're number 4.
All right, number 4. I wanted to stick with the horror genre that we are known to love and discuss. And my number 4 best hero is Ben from Night of the Living Dead.
There he is.
Yeah, this guy is he's not really doing any real action, but he's got the whole thing together. He is the center point, trying to bring this gang of idiots and assholes through this night when they're being attacked. And every time he turns around, he's got to struggle against something. You got Barbara who's melting down. You've got the guy and his family in the basement who just undermines him at every turn. You've got the well-meaning, couple, but they turn out to be idiots because they burn themselves to death. Poor guy. He's trying, and the whole time, the whole movie, he's thinking about the group. He's trying to keep the group alive. He's making all these great decisions. He's trying to get them on board. He's trying to be a leader, and he's just being undermined and undermined and undermined. Of course, the tragedy is he actually winds up being forced to do the asshole's plan and lock himself in the basement. And then when he pokes his head out, bam, he's dead. It's so tragic at the end. But I think he's one of the unsung heroes of film. I definitely think a lot of people concentrate so much on George Romero's, what do the zombies mean? What do they represent? That they lose sight of the fact that that movie is more about people reacting to each other than these monsters,
Right.
And even though, we get it. The zombies are a metaphor for, revolution, a communist revolution or whatever. It really is about this one heroic figure trying to keep the people around him from freaking out and dying. And I think it's a really good performance. And it's a really good example of a hero.
I'll tell you what, man. I came to this movie late in life. You know what I mean? I came to it, and he's definitely the best character in the entire movie for everything you said. And I was surprised that the ending wasn't ruined for me. I mean, it was not pre-internet when I saw it, but we didn't have internet at the time. And when I saw that, he survived the night, and just because one of the fucking rednecks sees something moving in the window and shoots him and takes him out, and then they hook him and throw him on the pyre. I'm like, oh man, I couldn't believe how pissed I was because I kind of take it to kind of like this character is like a character out of your favorite Stephen King novel.
Okay,
you love them, you're put through hell, and then it doesn't always end well for them. And such a great choice.
It always reminded me of Boxer from Animal Farm. This figure that just keeps trying even against all the odds, and
Boxer was the horse, wasn't it?
Winds up getting sold down the river at the end.
Yeah,
he was also. It was groundbreaking because here's a black man playing the lead in a horror movie. Sure. I mean, that was pretty for what was it, 1968? I mean, that was pretty groundbreaking. Dwayne Jones, he didn't do much after that. I was just looking up at his thing. Looks like he was in Beat Street. Oh, here we go.
You're right.
He was in a couple like B horror movies after that, but he didn't do much. It's a shame. But
it's too bad.
Yeah.
We got to cover that sometime on here.
Yeah, actually should.
Maybe we'll do that for $250.
Ooh,
okay.
There you
go.
That
for $250. Yeah, we'll do the original Night of the Living Dead.
I say $3.
The original Night of the Living Dead. There you go.
Yeah. Well, they did the remake with Tony Todd.
Yeah, I sent that one to
you.
Oh,
jeez. Was Tony Todd in it? Oh, God.
Yeah, Tony Todd. I like anything with Tony
remake.
Todd. Yeah.
Great remake, dude. Tom Savini directed it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
For $250, we're going black and white.
That's it. All right, let's keep it moving. Number 4, Eric. What do you got for us? Quattro.
Okay.
As they say in French. Cat.
Number 4 is another everyday man. Working man like you and I.
Yes, he is.
One of my favorite blow shit up movies, just because. And I didn't watch it for 4th of July, but I picked Harry Stamper, Bruce Willis's character from Armageddon.
Yeah.
Oh, from Armageddon, yeah.
And what I love about them is he is just a guy working on an oil rig. He's the leader of this band of fucked up misfits. You know what I mean? You got Steve Buscemi and Owen Wilson, Ben Affleck, Michael Clark Duncan. And he's the guy that he's just trying to get through the fucking day without something going wrong. And he finds out his daughter's banging Ben Affleck, and Ben Affleck is like the young upstart on his crew, so he's got to deal with that. And of course, he and his daughter they don't really have a relationship anymore. So he's got that going against him. And then of course we got to throw in the fact that an asteroid's coming down is going to destroy Earth.
As they always do.
And they don't have time to teach the astronauts how to drill, to man those type of drills. So we send the oil riggers who don't know how to do anything when it comes to space, travel, to take the meteorite out. And again, he's just like I like him because he's just this everyday man. He's a smart ass. He hates his job. He hates his life. But what I like about him is he is also respected by everyone on his crew. You know what I mean? They don't agree with a lot of things that he's doing, but they let him do it anyways. Like the scene where he finds out that Ben Affleck's banging his daughter, he chases him around the oil rig with a fucking shotgun. And I love the scene where Michael Clark Duncan just stands in front of him, and he says, I don't remember the guy's. Oh, his name's Bear. He says, "Move, Bear." He's like, "I'm just giving him a head start, boss." You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then we cut to the end of the film, and either everybody has fucking died, or like Steve Buscemi's got space dementia, or whatever they call it, and someone has to stay. You know what's going to happen halfway through the movie before, like even on your first time watch. Someone has to stay on the asteroid to make sure it goes off, the bomb goes off. And if it's a Bruce Willis movie, who's going to make the heroic sacrifice?
Right.
It's going to be Bruce Willis. And I'm a sucker for the everyday man, and I'm a sucker for a heroic sacrifice. And people can say what they want about Michael Bay. He's got his tropes. I love that scene where it's that final goodbye to him, between him and Liv Tyler. He closes his eye just as it hits 0, and he hits the button and it just explodes. And it's just a really cool scene and a really cool end to a great character.
It's a great one. Hold on a second. John, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'm just cutting your mic because I got a lot of background noise. But if you want to jump in, let me say it's cool.
I had a thing pop up. I thought somebody muted me. I'm like, wait, I wasn't going to say anything bad.
No, well, how could you not like Harry Stamper? And it's good that we got Bruce Willis in here. And this is
not John McClane, you know.
Yeah, not John.
Yeah,
not John McClane, not McClane.
Yeah.
But I mean, I own that on Blu-ray. I would love to watch it anytime.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
It starts out where he's shooting golf balls at those Greenpeace assholes.
Yeah.
In the fucking boat. He's like, you know how much diesel that fucking thing like kicks out every day? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You know, I think these guys just don't like the fact that we drill for oil. You know, I don't know what the problem is, you know? He's just great. He's just great. Mm-hmm. All right, so that brings me, because we went with Max for John on the 4. That brings me to me. I seem to, I don't know, I went with, I don't know, or at least I'm going with so far with serious characters, and I guess this is no exception. A bit of a tragic and definitely a reluctant hero. And I'm really sad that this guy has sort of disappeared from the big screen. I think he's doing a lot of television nowadays, maybe British television. But I miss him, and he had a hot thing going for about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, where he was like the A ticket, and then he just fucking disappeared. But this is my favorite role of his. I went with Clive Owen as Theo Farron in Children of Men.
There you go.
Children of Men, as crazy as it sounded back then, it's a fantastic film. The story of, hey, guess what? A fucking deadly pandemic is spreading around the world.
I think you and Marty talked about this once, didn't you?
Me and Frank and I think Walk the Cinema. I don't remember if Marty was part of it, but it's just it's like global infertility. Like no one's had a baby in like 19 months. Women, there's some sort of infertility going on. Mm-hmm. And he is just this apathetic fucking guy. You see him on the way to work. He stops off to get this coffee or tea, and then he stops outside and he's pouring like whiskey inside the tea, like early terrorists. Like the world is basically coming to an end. It's like this dystopian sort of situation. And then all of a sudden, like his ex-girlfriend in the form of Julianne Moore appears on the scene. And thrusts him into this adventure with the one pregnant woman, it's a young girl, this young pregnant girl, the only one in the world. And suddenly this guy who's like an office worker is just like fighting the whole world or running.
Exactly.
Helping her run from everyone. There are no good people in this.
Okay.
At least in the larger casting. It is a fantastic story. He barely has time to process all the tragedy that happens to him in the movie because all he can think of is getting this girl to safety. People are taken off the board like this, Julianne Moore, Michael Caine, this other woman that they sort of just pick up people and they get taken off the board randomly. It is a fantastic piece of movie making. Just a beautiful, beautiful film. If you don't get a chance to watch it, it's very tragic. But he becomes this hero when he goes from this person who just doesn't give a fuck that the world is ending anymore to this guy who's thrust into the center of everything. And it's just fantastic to watch. So that's my number 4, Clive Owen.
It's one of my favorite science fiction movies ever.
Yeah.
It's fantastic as a film. Good choice, Michael.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, John, are you still here? Are you
I'm
sticking
still
around?
Here. I can still hear. I can do one more.
Okay, why don't you get to your number 3?
All right,
if you're not from, it's Clive Owen.
And keep with the Clive Owen theme is what I was about to say. There we go.
All right.
I agree with you. I miss Clive Owen as well. But what I picked him is being King Arthur.
Yeah.
In the movie King Arthur.
Yeah.
Trying to stay away from going with the fantasy movies or the superhero movies. I love this version of it because it's kind of based on some historical perspective. And the fact that there are a lot of historians who honestly believe that if there was somebody named King Arthur, he would have been a Roman. at the time.
Of Roman Britain. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny because Artur was what they were calling him at one, by some of the people. But it's such a brilliant depiction of the Arthurian tales and legends.
Yeah, cool.
By even when everybody from Rome had come in and they said the bishop has to sit at the head of the table and he walks in and it's a round table.
Yeah, he's fucked the whole system. Yeah.
And the thing about it is that when everyone has a different agenda, Arthur and the knights following him do what's right.
Yeah.
I mean, when they find the people that are locked in the prison, and when they were guiding this wealthy man home and explaining to his son what was going on, and the son seeing the actions of the knights, for lack of a better term, and watching them do, through Arthur's lead, doing the right thing, being the equivalent of might for right, not making it right. And Arthur did such a great job, and Clive Owen did such a great job leading it, that when the marauders were coming and everyone was leaving, he chose to stay to save them. And I love that. The scene where he's standing on the hill, and the leader of the marauders come to him, and Arthur basically challenges him and says,
"It's Stellan Skarsgård. It's Stellan Skarsgård."
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And when he turns around, when Skarsgård says, "Finally, somebody in this land worthy of killing."
Yeah.
To me, it's the best description of it.
Yeah.
And I love that because it was purely for the right. And here are all the men who have a chance now to have their freedom, and because of what they were taught, show up to go by his side one last time. And I'm sorry, that movie still brings chills to me when I watch it. And the way they present it, I feel that before I give it to my nieces and nephews to read the Arthur tales in the books. I say, watch this, you'll have an idea.
This is the Keira Knightley is Guinevere, right?
I liked it. Keira Knightley is Guinevere, yeah. But she's a Celt in this, and Merlin is like a shaman. It's like a Celtic. Okay. They're called the Woads, but they're Celts basically. And because it's based on the historical legends where he was supposedly a Roman Britain commander or king. It's really cool. And it's got a great cast: Ray Winstone, Ray Stevenson. Who's
Mads
Mikkelsen is in it. Mads Mikkelsen plays Sir Tristan. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
I haven't seen it.
Who's the guy who played that? Ian
Griffith is
played Mr. Fantastic.
Guy played Mr. Fantastic. He's
Stellan Skarsgård is the leader of the Saxon army.
Yeah, and Till Schweiger is his son.
His son.
Yeah, Hugo Stieglitz.
Yeah. It's a fantastic. That's my favorite Arthur interpretation. A lot of people go with Excalibur. I go with the Clive Owen version.
Well, Excalibur to me, Michael, Excalibur is more of the whole fantasy realm.
Well, that's because that's based on the Mallory book, L'Amour d'Arthur. Yeah.
It's funny, like if you ever saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they asked Michael Palin why did they do that. He said, "We picked on the Arthur tales because nobody really knows them."
Exactly. Yeah,
because that type deal. But this one really brings it to the head. It really does. It's a great movie, and his depiction of Arthur is the good hero.
Yeah, it's directed by the guy. Yeah, it's Training Day guy.
Antoine Fuqua.
Yeah.
The movie's not a joke, man. That's a great fucking movie. That's a good pick.
It has some cool battle scenes too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, Ryan. What do you got for us?
Okay, this one might be a little cliche, but I had to go with my favorite everyman because I had to have an everyman on my list, and I never thought much of the character before until I started teaching him in class as one of the books that we read. And I have to say, man, I love me some Atticus Finch.
Oh,
there you go.
3. All right.
All right.
It's yeah. It's just he's just such a. I mean, we all know Atticus Finch. He's been on lots of lists. Like I said, it could almost be a cliche. You know, he could almost be a cliche at this point.
Well, they're
But
cliches for a reason, you know.
yeah, but I think it's because what he represents, the fact that he's willing to do the right thing when he could easily do the wrong thing. He's in a town full of backwood hick idiots. He's trying to defend this poor man, Tom Robinson, and he knows the guy's innocent. He can't even fight against the country justice to get this guy off. I mean, what he represents to his children is just fantastic. How, you know, they don't think much of him in the beginning, but then they come to respect him as they see, you know, what he's really about. They don't really know their dad. I mean, they call him Atticus, but his first name, they don't really respect him. He's kind of mysterious. They don't really know much. Like when he drops that dog in the street, they're like, oh, snap, we didn't know he could shoot that well. You know, I mean, like things like that. You see things about him that come out a little bit, but he's probably the best, I think, morally centered character. You know, because he's just a simple guy. He's just a normal dude. I mean, who's just trying to do the right thing. So, you know.
All right. Gregory Peck, too. Gregory Peck's had a lot of good casting over the years, except for the Omen. That was a good casting.
And his version of Godzilla, right?
He was in Godzilla?
He was what?
It was Raymond Burr.
No, that's Raymond Burr.
Okay.
Raymond Burr. They edited him into the Japanese version of Godzilla where he just stares at the camera for like 10 minutes, you know, trying to be
That's funny they threw Raymond Burr in there.
Well, like in 1954, no Americans were going to be sympathetic for the plight of the poor Japanese, you know, so they had to put an American in there to have somebody to relate to. Like Uncle Jake, who served on fucking Tarawa, probably wasn't too heartbroken about, you know, the fucking Japanese people, so they had to throw an American guy in there. All right, let's keep it moving. Number 3, Bill, what do you got?
All right, my number 3 is sticking with the horror genre. This is my favorite hero of all horror films I have ever seen. This guy stands head and shoulders above all the rest. I am talking about Ashley J. Williams from Evil Dead.
Yeah, man.
Attaboy.
God. Yeah, there he is.
He's got the chin. He's got the muscle. He's
Bruce
got the
Campbell.
shotgun. This is the guy who is the ultimate survivor. You cannot keep Ashley down. His girlfriend could turn into a zombie. He'll just shoot her in the face. His best friend turns into a zombie. He just gouges his eyes out. He is the ultimate survivor, and he always has a good quip no matter what happens. Lady, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
Yeah.
So there you have it. And he doesn't become a hero until the second movie. First Evil Dead, he's really just a victim. The second Evil Dead, we repackage him as a hero. He's got the chainsaw on his stumpy hand. He's got the sawed-off shotgun, and he becomes this total badass. And then in the third movie, of course, he's just the king of all heroes. So take that, man.
He was great in the TV series too. I think that was a
Ash
great.
versus Evil Dead.
I won't spoil the way the series ends, but for the Ash character, I think it ended perfectly. You know what I mean? A lot of people were pissed that it only lasted 3 seasons, and it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. If you know the character, it's a perfect ending for Bruce Campbell as Ash.
Yes.
I think that one of my favorite things, not to talk about, just to get away from Ash for a second, but Bruce Campbell, was seeing him in the Raimi Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
Where he always plays Peter Parker's foil, you know, like he fucks him up trying to get it. She asked me to show up. She didn't ask you to show up late.
Yeah.
He's just fucking with Tobey Maguire like all the time.
When he's the ring announcer, and he announces him as Spider-Man.
Hold on a second. Hold on, man. I hope you brought popcorn for everyone, man. Motherfucker. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was saying, like, you know, when he's being introduced, and he said, "Kid, what's your name?" The human spider. Human spider. That's stupid.
Stupid.
Amazing Spider-Man. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, come on!
He
He
did
was
it.
in the second one collecting tickets. You're late.
Yeah.
He did it, and he did a riff on his hand joke in the Multiverse of Madness, where
Doctor Strange, where he's punching
Doctor
himself,
Strange possesses his hand and he's doing the whole Ash hand bit. Yeah.
One thing I like about the Ash character is a lot of people don't like him in Army of Darkness because he's an asshole, and he's a big asshole in Ash versus Evil Dead. But if you think about it, parts 1, 2, and 3 kind of they're just over like the span of a week.
Yeah.
And all of this is happening to the Ash character over a week. You'd be an asshole too. You know what I mean?
You'd be a little stressed.
Yeah. So that's what I like about it. That a lot of people don't realize. You got to think of the timeline. You know, all of his friends were killed. He's sucked into the fucking Middle Ages. He has to teach these villagers who don't know anything how to defend the castle against these monsters. All in a week. No one respects him. No one likes him. You'd be kind of a prick too. You know what I mean?
Right. One girlfriend after another turns into a zombie.
You loved me. You loved
me.
Yeah, she says, "You loved me once, honey. You got real ugly."
God.
Yeah. You're exactly.
Well, that's
right.
just pillow talk, baby.
Well, first you wanted to kiss me, now you want to kill me. Blow, you know, stuff like that. He's a lot of fun.
Shop smart, guys. Ashley J. Williams, the king.
Yep.
Shop smart.
All right. And there we have it. Number 3. All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's go with Eric. What do you got for us? Number 3.
Okay, we kind of have this theme of the everyday man, and I mentioned with Kurt Russell and being a firefighter as a real life hero. Well, we have some people in this field that are on the stream. You know, other real life heroes are teachers. And I didn't even know that this movie existed until I was doing my podcast. And lots of times when I'm with Alex, he makes me watch movies that I've never heard before. Number 3 for me, from the movie Lean on Me, Morgan Freeman's character of Joe Clark.
Crazy Joe Clark. Yeah, man.
Yes, they call me Crazy Joe, but now they call me Batman. Yes.
That's right.
Crazy Joe. Yeah, man.
I had never seen this movie before. I didn't know it existed. And I knew it was the cliche like Dangerous Minds or what was the other one? Stand and Deliver. You know, the guy comes into the inner city and makes the students.
Dude, Joe Clark don't play. That's great.
And I loved it from the very beginning because they went from the 70s when he lost his job to the late 80s. And just the change of as cliche as it is, the change of the environment. They're playing Welcome to the Jungle. You know, it hits you right in the fucking face. You know, and I love that. But what I like about Joe Clark is he's like us. He holds a grudge because of what happened to him previously. And then when he finally gets in charge, he doesn't give a fuck. And he finds out that one little kid is doing crack. He takes him the roof.
Get on the roof.
And he either tells him to jump or he's threatening to throw him off. And he's like,
he's great.
There's no different. You're doing crack. It's going to be the same fucking result. Yep. You know what I mean? So he's doing that scared doors. He's doing that scared straight thing. And it works. But what I also love about Joe Clark is he's also very sympathetic when he meets that student of his that is pregnant. You know what I mean? And it's not this overly cliche, like I'm going to take her in, I'm going to hug her, and this and that. You can tell because it's Morgan Freeman, he's just so fucking good. How this teacher, because some teachers get so discouraged that sometimes a lot of their students are just numbers. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and what you really believe that Joe Clark, as you know, all the over-the-top things he's doing, he really truly cares about his students. And he wants them to do good with their life. He wants them to do better with their life. And when he's with this young girl who's pregnant, you really believe that he cares about her situation, the future of the child, this and that. And it comes through in Morgan Freeman's performance. But then I also love the over-the-top shit when he's locking the doors to keep the kids in, but the bad influences out.
Yeah,
we mentioned Tony Todd. He hires Tony Todd as his fucking head of security. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Yeah. You know, he was Mean Joe Clark, and now he's Batman as he holds up that bat because, you know, he's going to use it if he needs to type of thing. it's a great blend of over the top comedy stuff. You know, it's not like, you know, slapstick comedy, but it's got its funny moments.
Yeah.
But this dude really cares about what he's trying to do. He cares about these kids, and he really does care about their future. He's not one of these teachers. He's like, okay, you're going to pass because I don't have to fucking deal with you next year type of thing. He really wants them to succeed. And I like it how it's not schmaltzy. You know what I mean? It's not like Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, you know, where that's got all the 90s cliches. This guy, and she did care about the kids, but this guy, you really buy it. And I think it's because it's how strong of an actor Morgan Freeman is. And he's such a naturally gifted actor. I don't want to demean him when I say this. It's like he doesn't really have to put in that much effort. You know what I mean? To show how good he is. And I'm so glad that when we were doing the podcast, Alex made me watch this movie because, like I said, I never knew it existed. And
I'm surprised
I probably
you never heard of it.
Yeah, I never heard of it. And I probably, if it showed up in streaming, I never probably would have sat down and clicked the button type of thing. And
it's a great film. I teach a class where we show that movie. It's about it's called a transformative student voice, where they're showing the kids that they have agency and stuff like that. And we show that movie. And my favorite scene is when he goes into that pep rally and kicks all those kids out. First thing he does is suspends all those kids in that pep rally. But what's interesting,
he fires the teacher in the meeting, I think, for just
picking up a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But what's
it's based on a real guy, right?
Yeah,
and you know
what happened in New Jersey.
Yeah, I went to college. I went to college with a guy who graduated from that high school, and he said that as great as that movie was, the reality was even weirder and bigger. Like being in that school with Joe Clark was such an inspiration for this kid, being street kid from Patterson, but he was inspired by Joe to go to to succeed. I mean, he went to Stockton, but still.
Yeah. I'm reading about Clark right now. I'm reading about Clark. It says he expelled over 300 students who were frequently tardy or absent from school, or used drugs to cause trouble. But apparently, though, it says while the math scores were up 6% during his reign, reading scores barely budged. They remained at the bottom third in the nation's high school seniors. So he basically it's kind of a shame, all that work, and there was still some he couldn't get through to, But
you never can say
that's a great movie, though. It's fantastic.
You can only
sadly, the night of the premiere of the movie, the kids had a party at the school for it, and the woman who was trying to get them thrown out showed up and then basically said, "Look, this is the school he's running," and he got fired 3 weeks after the movie came out.
Yeah, he did. Joe Clark. Yeah, he didn't last there long.
And the school went right back to hell.
Yeah.
Of course it did. Of course it did. Of course it did.
Yep. Because that's education.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Someone's making progress. Shut that motherfucker down. Who does he think he is?
Yeah. Hey, if you can find it, if you're really interested, there was a great. I'm showing my age right now, but back in the day when 60 Minutes was actually a news program, they did a great interview with him for 20, 25 minutes for real Joe Clark.
Okay, I'll look it up.
And they were showing clips and everything else, and it was before the movie was even considered. It's a brilliant piece of journalism for about a good 17 minutes on it.
Okay. They did. There's a great skit on In Living Color. Where they skit this.
David Allen Greer. Yeah,
they send him to instead of Wilford Central High, they send him to Wilford Beauty Academy. He keeps saying expeditiously. Yeah, he keeps saying expeditiously.
I love David Allen Greer. He makes the one kid jump out the window. Yeah.
I'll look for it.
Yeah.
What a great. Yeah, you can find out.
No, Keenan. Keenan plays.
Oh, is it Keenan? Okay, all right.
I think it's Keenan. Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving. That brings me to me. Okay.
There you go.
All right. I didn't realize I was on such a serious track, but we're talking about heroes, and for some reason that made me I was surprised, Ryan. You didn't bring this person up. I'll just go into people that weren't named. Nobody picked Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought about it, but
nobody like he's
my
perfect hero.
thing froze. What'd you say, Mike?
I said no one picked Indiana Jones. Ryan,
Yeah.
I was positive you were going to pick juror number 8 from 12 Angry Men. It didn't happen.
I honestly wasn't thinking of that, but
There's some obvious, like no one picked Frodo.
But see, I didn't go with Indy or Frodo because I figured we'd have overlap or they'd be too obvious.
Yeah, and maybe everyone thought that, so no one picked them. No one picked them.
Yeah.
So there were some ones that, I thought for sure somebody would have come up with, and nobody did. I personally was going through my list, and this popped into my head almost immediately. I don't think that there's a bigger. It's based on a true story, and I don't think that there's I'm sort of cheating, but it's my channel, so I'm going to do it anyway. I don't think there's a bigger example of heroism, and I'm cheating because I'm going to pick more than one person.
okay.
I'm talking about the entirety of Task Force Ranger in Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down.
There you go.
That is probably that is without a doubt my favorite war movie, based on a true story
Damn good.
of this group of men who just throw themselves into a fucking meat grinder to save their friends when 2 of the helicopters go down on a simple operation, and it just becomes a fucking horror story. It really is as close to a horror. I mean, it's as much of a horror movie as Alien or anything else, because it's just people are just getting ground up and chewed up, and they just won't leave. They just won't leave because they will not leave their friends behind. And anybody who knows the saying from the Bible, greater loveth no man than, man who lays down his life for his friends. And these guys are just getting chewed up and mangled and killed, and just they're killing everybody just to get their friends back. I personally do not watch my favorite movies a lot because I never want to get tired of them. I say this all the time, and people look at me, and I don't.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
I haven't watched Hereditary since we covered it on the show.
Wow.
I haven't watched it since we covered it on the show. That was episode 44 or 46. So it's been almost 200 episodes. Haven't watched it since then. I watch this movie probably twice a year, and it never gets old. It never fucking gets old. I could just sit down, and especially I've got the extended version. And the book written by Mark Bowden is even better. The entire group of men out there that day that went out there are just real fucking heroes. And it's funny because they're all passing into history, and every once in a while you'll catch a military podcast with one of them. And, like all of us, they're starting to get older. They're older now. They're not young men anymore.
That was mid-90s when that happened?
It was during the Clinton administration, the beginning of the Clinton administration.
Mogadishu,
Yeah, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that response that happened actually probably influenced heavily No One's interest in getting involved in what happened, I think, the following year in Rwanda.
Yeah.
Because we sent all those people over there, and Adid was starving 300,000 of his own people. He starved 300,000 of his own people to death. And we went over there, and within 6 weeks, the whole fucking country turned on us.
Yep.
Right.
Suddenly it was our fault, and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, so when it happened the next year over in Rwanda, I remember that guy that I read the book, Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah, I show the movie in class. Yeah.
Well, the guy that Don Cheadle, I read his book, and he's very angry at the West for not getting involved. I'm like, do you remember what happened the year before that, man?
Oh, yeah, the Americans totally abandoned him. He had to beg Belgium to help.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that's what, when you look at Black Hawk Down, happened in real life the year before. Yeah. That's probably why. They're like, we're not going. Yeah, you guys got a short memory. So I absolutely picked this as one of my top 5, my number 3.
You sent that to me. I've only seen it the one time. You sent that to me like a year or so ago, and I finally watched it. Handful of months, and I couldn't believe. Like I didn't know if it was going to be overhyped or if it was just going to be a typical true story, conflict movie. Damn, that was so good, and I didn't realize how brutal it was going to be.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a
Intense.
shit show.
There's that one scene where the soldier, I don't remember, like he's just laying down on the ground, and then you got all the other the I don't want to say villagers, but they're creeping in on him, and he doesn't know what to do, and you feel scared for him while that's happening.
Yeah,
it's such a good movie. Great cast. Sizemore is in it. Yeah, Orlando Bloom's in it of all people.
Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor, Tom Hardy, Josh Hartnett. Eric Bana.
It's hard to watch now because Jeremy Piven's in it, and I keep wanting to hear Ari Gold yell something rude from the helicopter.
I mean, it's like everybody's in that fucking movie, and it's got Kim Coates. It's fucking great. It's just a great fucking movie. It's good shit. Good stuff.
Beautiful.
All right, John, do you got time for your number 2?
Yep, I did some work when I turned off, and I'm back. And
I got to get your job.
Number 2. To stick with, thank you, Michael, for actually picking a group as the heroes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel bad about my number 2 because for my number 2, I was actually debating either or between these two characters, and I said, no, you can't do one without the other. So my number 2 is Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I picked the later ones of Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law only because I love the depiction of the two. The depiction is easily over the fact that they are like, there's too many times that they depict Holmes as overly arrogant to the point that nobody can understand him, and Watson's a buffoon. And that's always bugged me, also mainly because when I used to be involved with the Sherlock Holmes weekend and eventually started writing the characters, I said, Watson was a soldier and a doctor. He's not a buffoon. He's smarter than the audience, and Holmes is smarter than him. The two of them were almost like more brothers than Mycroft and Holmes. And the way they depicted them, they did it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
To being the heroes of it. I quickly wrote a description of it when I went to Michael, when I sent in the pick for Michael. The last play that I wrote, I had Lestrade explain, it was a group of, for lack of a better term, they were a group of storytellers, writers, and things like that. And when Lestrade actually told a story about a hound that a farmer had, he said it was a good boy, but don't agitate him because he's a good boy, but sometimes he's not that nice. And the hound eventually fought a pack of wolves to save the sheep. And when the rest of the town come running up to help the farmer because they saw the wolves or heard the wolves howling, they realized the wolves were driven away by the hound. The hound comes stumbling out of the woods, but basically, saved the town from being attacked by this pack. And the town started referring to him that way, politely saying, that the hound, is a nice boy. He's a good boy, but he's not always that nice. And when this one arrogant American turned around and said, yeah, I know, let me guess, you're the hound. And Lestrade said, oh, no, I'm the shepherd. And he pointed to Holmes and Watson. They're the hounds. They will run into places where angels fear to tread, and the devil will step in 1 foot and say, no, thank you, and walk away to do what's right. And when I said that speech, because I was playing Lestrade at the time, the first night, the audience stood up and applauded and gave a standing ovation for like 2 minutes. Because these were like Sherlockians. They loved that depiction. And that's who they were. They were above and beyond just, being Victorian type caricatures. How people think they actually were real people. That's how they predict it. Because they did what was right. No matter what and who it was or where it took them. And I was always impressed and amazed by that through the stories and through the depictions on the film. If you don't like Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr., there's a great one from the 70s where it was Christopher Plummer that played Holmes, and James Mason was Watson. And they do the same thing. And it's actually one of the stories that were not from the book, but it was the story of taking on Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
And it was the same thing. Those, to me, in any type of literature, they are heroes.
Yeah. They are, and I think everybody has their own personal favorites. I mean, I love Downey and Law, but I think my favorites are the traditionals with Jeremy Brett. You know, those are the ones that I grew up watching on my local PBS affiliate after school. You would come home and I would watch Sherlock Holmes, and I would watch Dark Shadows. I wasn't a Doctor Who fan. You know, you've got Basil Rathbone. You know, during the old schools. You've even had a Christopher Lee. Didn't Lee and Cushing do one?
Lee, and Lee was in Hound of the Baskervilles, the one with Basil Rathbone.
Yep.
The movie. Lee was Lord Baskerville.
Yeah.
I hope we get another Guy Ritchie. I hope we get one more.
Yeah, I wish they would do another one, but Downey wanted to do that stupid Dr. Dolittle movie instead. And it's like, look, we saw how that turned out.
Well, he can still act. I mean, he was great in Oppenheimer.
Oh, I know that. I know he can still act, but I like those Sherlock movies. Yeah. So, you know.
Let's hope we get another one. Well, Guy Ritchie didn't do Dr. Dolittle, did he?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, I thought it was very funny that Jude Law, when they said they're going to do another Sherlock Holmes movie, he goes, we're trying to, but, you know, Rob's too busy running around saving the world as Iron Man. And he started laughing because he was going off to do his first Marvel movie. You know,
that was 10 years.
I also like Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah,
and they're the same thing. I was going to say, if you don't like that for the movie, look at them for the TV show because they were the same things.
Yeah.
You know,
we can do a deep cut as well. A movie that I've loved since middle school that was shown. Oh God, every year from 5th to maybe 8th grade was a movie called Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I've got a copy of that. Yeah, I got that movie.
That was one of the first CGI films. Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun. If you don't know it's basically like when Holmes and Watson meet in boarding school, I guess you would say. Yeah, and they're solving a series of murders, and it's a lot of fun.
Yep. That's a Spielberg.
It's a brilliant movie.
And it shows, again, it's told from Watson's point of view because if Sherlock said he'd be so cocky that, he solved everything in like 2 minutes type of thing. But it's really cool because you find out where he gets his pipe, you find out where he gets his hat, his jacket, and you find out why Moriarty hates him so fucking much. Right. I mean, if you wait till after the credits. So that's another fun one.
And it was written by Christopher Columbus and directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Oh,
was it Zemeckis? I thought it was Spielberg. Okay, I thought it was Spielberg.
Spielberg produced it.
Spielberg produced. I don't think Zemeckis directed it though.
I think he did because that was the first time I saw a Zemeckis film.
Let me see. I'm checking now. Hold on. I got Wiki at my fingertips here. Hold on.
But yeah,
here we go. It was Barry Levinson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Barry Levinson. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's another fun one.
Yeah,
that is a cool movie. And there's the great one with Michael Caine, The Adventure, Without a Clue.
Without a Clue,
where he's an actor portraying Sherlock Holmes. That's a good. And Ben Kingsley's Watson. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well adapted character.
Yes.
All right. That brings us to who?
Ryan.
No, Bill. Okay, I lost track for a second. All right, but wait, that brings us to number 2.
Yes.
So I have not changed over the banner yet. Number 2. Ryan, what do you got for us?
I'll be back in a second.
This guy is very well known. He hangs out in the woods with a bunch of guys. He's the man, the myth, and the legend. Sometimes Lord Loxley, sometimes the Prince of Thieves. I'm talking about Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Yeah. My favorite version is Errol Flynn. But he's been played by numerous people. I love Robin Hood. He's just a great character. I mean, we all know about him, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. But I mean, it just seems like it's such a fun part to play. You know, everybody who's played Robin Hood has depicted him differently, but he's always got the same goal: to piss off somebody
in government. Yeah, piss off somebody in government. Yeah.
Didn't Russell Crowe play him once?
I mean,
that's my favorite one, the one with Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. I love the Errol Flynn version. I love Sean Connery's version in Robin and Marion. It's a very underrated Robin Hood legend. It's one that's not depicted on screen as much, the death of Robin Hood. But he's just a great character. I like the Costner movie. I like Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people bitched about Costner's performance. Even Costner will slam his own lack of accent in that.
Men in Tights.
But I think Men in Tights.
Yeah.
And Carrie Elways is a fabulous Robin Hood. I even like the Disney version, the cartoon.
Cartoon is good, yeah.
They're all, you know, but I think it's great that you have all these different depictions of this character, but he's just a guy who it always represents good. He always stands up for the oppressed people. You know, he's a symbol of that time period in England. And his actual first appearance as Robin Hood's first official literary appearance is in the story Ivanhoe, the novel by Sir Walter Scott. He's called Locksley throughout, but we know it's Robin Hood. And that's where the popular image of him being in the Lincoln Green and being associated with King Richard and all that comes in, and Friar Tuckson and stuff. But yeah, Robin Hood's great. I love Robin Hood. He's just a fun character. I like that they can mock him a little bit sometimes, like in Shrek when he's French and he gets beat up by Shrek. That's funny. But he's just a great character because of what he represents. You know, he's kind of like a nationalistic kind of character. He just represents like the good guy who's not afraid to say F you to the, he's not afraid to give the middle finger to the establishment. So,
And come on, man, Men in Tights. End of discussion.
Oh yeah, it's great.
All right,
but
so,
like I said,
I was going to say, quick round table. Who's your favorite Robin Hood? You said yours is Errol Flynn. Ryan? Bill?
Yep.
The Disney Fox.
Fox. All right. Eric?
Honestly, you know, I might go with Men in Tights because it's one of Mel Brooks' best, and Carrie Elways has just got such great charisma, dude.
He's fabulous.
The King. Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
John, what do you got?
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, same here.
I like the Russell Crowe one.
And that's a good, because that's a different version of Robin. Right. He's more of like the warrior kind of guy, kind of like the Kevin Costner one, but different. You know,
you see him in the Crusade. Danny Houston is Richard the Lionheart. You see the death of Richard the Lionheart.
Yeah.
Max von Sydow. He plays it older. Kate Blanchett is an older Marion. He plays a guy named Longstride. His name is Longstride. He assumes the name of Locksley as a king to deliver some information inside of England. Yeah, he's like a deserter from the Crusade.
And that's what I like about the Connery one, Robin and Marion. Is that was the first time we saw an older Robin Hood and Marion on screen. And that was like Audrey Hepburn's first movie in years. She had come out of retirement to play that. Yep. And you got Robert Shaw is the Sheriff of Nottingham, and Nicol Williamson. Nicol Williamson is Little John, and Richard Harris, I think, is King Richard. It's a really
great
neat movie. Yeah, it's sad, but it's a great movie.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It is very sad. Yeah. I don't know if Bill might remember this. I don't know. John might too. But when we were in our college days, we probably saw the Costner version 500 times.
Oh, man.
I think so. Yeah,
like we knew it line by line, and we actually assigned. We assigned different characters. Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic cast. But we assigned friends like different characters. Like Bill was cool. Bill was Little John. No, Little John. Yeah, he was Little John. I was Azim, the Great One. John's brother Paul was Will Scarlet, full of piss and wind.
Fuck me, he clipped it.
Yeah.
It's funny because on the DVD,
I think that was horse number 2.
You might have been. You might have been.
On the DVD of Prince of Thieves, you know, I was listening to the commentary, and Costner, the first thing he says is, "There's me with my dumbass accent." He said, yeah, that's the first thing he says in it. Like, so he said, look, I tried. He said, I really tried to do an English accent, and I just couldn't do it. And the director who's on the commentary with him is like, look, like, we just forgot about it.
We made a shit ton of money off that movie. Yeah, we made a shit ton of money with your American accent. Don't worry.
It's okay. It's okay, Kevin. We forgive you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know, there's I have that on Blu-ray, and it comes with a theatrical and a director's cut. And there's a spoiler in there where you realize the witch is actually Nottingham's
Sheriff's mom.
Yeah.
Sheriff's mom.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of deleted scenes.
Yeah.
With like devil worship stuff and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She's not really a witch. She has like all these like secret passageways in the hallway. So she's been listening to everyone's conversations for years. And that's how she's able to like predict the future, because she knows the context of what everyone's going through.
Yeah.
So she'll just throw some bones there, and
And I love Michael Wincott as Guy of Gisborne.
Oh yeah,
he's great in that.
Why a spoon cousin?
Why a spoon cousin? And one of my favorite actors, Brian Blessed, as his dad. I love Brian Blessed. But
our friend
just so much fun. Yeah,
our friend Pat was Friar Tuck. Colin was.
He's my favorite Friar Tuck in that movie.
He was the bishop. He was the bishop that Pat showed out the window at the end.
The corrupt bishop. Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving. Number 2, Bill. What do you got for us?
Number 2. It's a character that I find to be one of the greatest heroes ever. But when it first came out, it was criticized for being like a one-dimensional character. But I don't think we as Americans had caught up with this type of movie making. I think that this character is the ultimate embodiment of justice, and just plows through lines and lines of evildoers to get to the main evildoer and take him out. I'm talking about Bruce Lee's portrayal of Lee in Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. We never talk about Bruce Lee on this channel, and it's not fucking right, man. It's not fucking right.
Well, let's start talking about him.
Yeah, well, we're doing it now.
Bruce Lee is the ultimate badass. We always talk about Peter Cushing and his Van Helsing as being an action hero. And I always think, when I think action hero, my mind goes straight to Bruce Lee in this movie. I mean, he's the ultimate badass. And it's the weirdest thing. He doesn't really have a dog in this fight, but he's recruited by the MI5 to take down this drug dealer. And the only connection is that this guy studied martial arts in the same place that he did, and he is offended that this guy who is part of his clan or whatever is doing evil, and he's got to take him out just for the sake of saving face and getting the honor of his clan back. And it's just, gotta do it. It's almost like the samurai movies we've been talking
13
about.
Assassins.
It's ultimate justice, and he's going to plow through everything they throw at him, including Han and Lobo and Chuck Norris and
Bob Wall,
everybody.
We forget that guy Bob Wall was the guy who like helped kill his sister, which he doesn't realize at the time when he takes the assignment.
Right.
He's like, well, why doesn't somebody just pull out a 45 and fucking kill this guy? And he's like, no guns. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Fine, I'll do it.
It's an excuse to watch Bruce Lee bust people up. I mean,
we got no movie hero.
He's such an instrument of justice, and lives by a code. If there's anyone that lives by a code, it's the guy who goes, I'm not going to use a gun to kill these guys who are trying to kill me. I'm going to use my fists.
I'm just going to beat him to fucking death.
Yeah, and it's a
and
shame that
it set the pace for all the kung fu movies that followed right into the 80s.
yeah, it put Street Fighter, all those games on the map too.
Oh, yeah.
That was the prototype, and it's a shame that Jim Kelly's career didn't really go anywhere after that.
Yeah.
And Jim Kelly was awesome in that.
He was
movie.
great in that. Yeah. John Saxon was in
John
that.
Saxon, yeah.
Yeah, John Saxon.
I love John Saxon, man. He's always been a fucking
And apparently he was a real martial artist.
Yes.
Like he did, like he knew martial arts like in real life. So that was cool. And is that the one where he's Chuck Norris isn't in that one, right?
No, that's Return of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's the one where he's
Bob
in Rome.
Wall in this one. Yeah, Bob Wall's in this one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like even the guy that even the guy that
Furious,
killed his sister,
Green
he won't kill him. He won't kill him
Yeah.
until the guy pulls the fucking bottle. He's content to just smack him and like give him an equal like response to that immediate moment. It's not about vengeance. Like he's gonna piece him up really bad because of what he did, but he's not gonna kill him. And then the guy breaks the bottles. And then when he's like, okay, you stepped over the line now. It ain't a fist fight no more. You're gonna try to fucking kill me. And he just smokes the dude.
Yeah.
And he smokes him in slow motion, which we had never seen before. You know, he just like a kung fu movie, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I must have seen that movie 1,000 times. And
That's
then
the whole reason I took karate all through
man.
and high school.
Yeah, if anybody remembers, Bill and I would, maybe John would. You guys are a little young for this. They used to have Bruce Lee Week on the local affiliate, and they would show 4 Bruce Lee movies in a row, and then a Bruce Lee movie. It was like a Bruce Lee.
I remember Kung Fu Theater.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, but they never had any Bruce Lee movies on those.
Bruce Lee, the other guy.
Yeah, Bruce Lee. Yeah, Bruce Lee.
No, because I used to watch Kung Fu Theater. So you know, all the old like Shaw stuff and everything.
Yeah, Shaolin monks and 30
Shaolin monks, baby.
That's crazy movies. What was that one? The 5 Deadly Venoms and all that. That's a great movie.
Duel of the Iron Fist is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny now because if you have the UFC app, for some reason Dana White had the crazy ass idea to put all the old Golden Harvest, Run Shaw movies in there.
That's cool.
So like you can't rent it per month. You have to buy the whole year. But if you get the year, you've got a year's worth of any fucking Chinese kung fu movie you pretty much want to see. None of the Japanese stuff. That's a whole different conversation. But that's just fucking great. That's great. All right, number 2, Eric. What do you got for us?
All right, number 2, everyday man. He's a soldier. And he volunteers for a mission that he knows he's not going to survive. We all know who he is. We all know the franchise. I picked Kyle Reese from The Terminator.
Yeah.
And first off, he's played by Michael Biehn, who is one of the most, in my opinion, underrated and underappreciated actors because you just don't see him anymore.
No.
You know, seeing him in Planet Terror was the first time I've seen him in probably fucking 20 years. You know what I mean?
You know, when he was in The Mandalorian, I didn't even recognize him.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, that was Michael Biehn? Yeah.
What I love about Kyle Reese's character is we all know the story. He gets sent back in time. He has to protect Sarah Connor, from the Terminator, who's going to kill the mother of the leader of the resistance before he's born. But you realize that he knows the lore. He knows who John Connor's father is. He is John Connor's father. So like I said, he's going on a mission that he knows he's not going to survive. So he has to, well, first off, he's already in love with this woman that he's never met.
Hold on a second. I never thought that. I never thought that he understood that he was going to be
I always figured he did because
I'm not disputing it. I'm just,
I think because I mean, it's also kind of fucky when you're doing time travel, you know what I mean? But I always assumed that he knew because if you're going, through the timeline, John must know who his father is because Sarah eventually trained him, you know what I mean, to be this leader of the resistance. But he's in love with this woman that he's never met. He volunteers to go back in time, 20, 30 years? I don't know, 40 years. I don't know the actual timeline. And again, he's looked at as he would be as this crazy man. You know what I mean? Who's going to believe that a fucking robot from the future that looks like a human is going to kill this woman because of who she's going to give birth to, you know, in a year type of thing. And I just love his performance. You know, he's intense when he needs to be intense, like the scene in Tech Noir, you know, come with me if you want to live. That wasn't originally said by Arnold. It was said by Michael Biehn in the original film. But he's also so dramatic. You buy, you know, the fact that he's in love with Sarah Connor. You know, when he gives that speech, you know, when he says, you know, how much he loves her type of thing. It's not over the top. It's not schmaltzy. It's not lame. You buy that. But I also love how obviously Sarah's not going to believe this crazy man, but he still tries his best to get her to believe. And one of my favorite scenes to show how real he is when they're in the cop car and she bites his hand and he says, "Terminators don't feel pain. I do." And then he says, "Don't do that again." You know what I mean? So he'll do whatever he needs to do to get her to believe him. And it's just a great performance. And what I love is some of the little things he does. You know, Arnold shows up, he stands up and he just walks and he does business. When Kyle first shows up in 1984, he falls from the fucking heavens basically, and the first thing we see from Michael Biehn is he's groaning and he's in pain because you don't realize that shit hurts when you're going back through time. You know what I mean? So it's just the little subtle stuff that Biehn does, and then by the end of it, I said it when we mentioned Harry Stamper. I'm a sucker for a hero's heroic death, and you grow to love Kyle Reese so much that when he dies, kind of like when Bill talked about Night of the Living Dead, that character too, you're just like, fuck, you know what I mean? You don't want him to die, and it's a sad reveal. He doesn't have this slow death. He's just caught in an explosion, and then he's pulled over, and we see his dead body. You know what I mean? When Sarah finds him, but he's just such a heroic and tragic character, and that's what I love. You know, when it comes to heroes on film, and not like characters like a firefighter or a teacher or a blue collar guy, if it's a hero and it's also a tragic hero, I think that's a perfect combination for me. I'm a sucker for that combo.
He plays it so broken.
Yes,
he's just a broken man. You know, it's just, you know, like the
PTSD
really,
nightmares he has.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, because he has those dreams. Where, you know, he's like the car flips over and he's burning in the car. You know, and you're just like, fuck, man. Like, this is just, you know, he's like, and he just kind of wakes up, you know. Holy shit.
And the first thing he does when he wakes up is he cocks the shotgun, you know.
He's got the fucking shotgun.
So he's ready. But what I like is, you know, there's also little moments of levity in the future with him. I love the scene where they're going through the tunnels and the little kids are, you know, pointing fingers and, you know, doing the pew pew gun noises, and he just smiles, he points his gun at them, you know, just like, and he acts like he fires. Just he's trying to keep them in a air quotes, you know, happy place while all this shit is happening, you know, to them and their families. So there's a lot of humanity to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that they were able to put him in the second one too, in that deleted scene.
Those
he was in that little cameo there. That was cool.
Where's our son, Sarah? Yeah,
that was cool.
All right, let's move on. We're almost there. This is the last number 2, so let's move on to I'm the last.
No, it's you, Mike.
So number 2. This is a little more lighthearted, and I was happy. This was one of the first things that I thought of. I was so happy to pick this person. It was a movie I've seen only recently, and because of the show. And when I saw it, I'm like, this guy is absolutely a fucking hero. How could you not appreciate him? Let's just get right into it. I went with Edmund Green. Is it Edmund Gwen? Excuse me. As Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street.
There you go.
How do you not love Santa Claus? Santa Claus, automatically a hero. I had never seen this, and I just love this.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I love that Santa Claus is not just some ho 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 happy fat guy, you know, that just goes around, you know, smiling at everybody. Like, he has a temper. He has a clear, like, moral center. Like, it starts off at the Macy's Day Parade where he berates that department store Santa for showing up on the float drunk. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like children might be here. You might have to interact with kids. That they don't want to see this." Santa actually bops that fucking department store detective over the head, who's trying to fucking manipulate that young boy into convincing him that something's wrong with him because he wants to, because it makes him happy to give and to do for others. So he tries to convince him that he's, a neurotic, and he's like, "There's only been ever one way to deal with men like you," and he just takes that umbrella and just cracks him right across the fucking head.
Yeah.
It's just
you're like,
great.
Santa just hit somebody.
When he hit that guy in the head, I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard. Because if you've gone so far afoul that Santa Claus has to fucking crack you one in the head, like you're really off the fucking mark.
That Weasley dude. Yeah,
I love this movie. I'm so glad because of the show that we watched it. It's an obvious.
I only started watching it recently too, and I've never seen it. Fabulous.
You've never seen Miracle on 34th Street?
It's one of those movies my mom watched every year for Christmas when I was a kid, and I was never interested because I was one of those kids. It's black and white. I don't want to watch that shit. You know what I mean? And it's been recently on my list to watch. And Mike, I'm watching movies that I've never seen for my channel. That's going to become one of the movies December time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can probably easily find a copy on YouTube.
In the 90s with Richard Attenborough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but watch the original. There's a great scene in there where he meets this little Dutch girl, and this movie takes place right after World War II, and she's probably displaced, and she doesn't speak any English, and it just almost brings tears to your eyes. Yeah, it almost brings tears to your eyes that he can make this little girl happy. Oh my, because he's the real Santa Claus, and he's really magic. It's just a perfect film, and he's a perfect hero for it. So that's my number 2. All right, there you go. We're finally here. We're moving on to number 1, numero uno.
All right.
John, do you have time or do you need to go now?
Yeah, as long as I can get this done real quick, and then I got to go back to work.
All right, let's.
It was very funny to hear you guys talk about Bruce Lee as I'm cleaning up a movie theater. And it was Inside Out 2, which was the exact opposite of any Bruce Lee film.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I imagine so. All right, John, your number 1 pick. What do you got for us?
Number 1. I got to tell you, Ryan, I came this close to picking Atticus Finch for number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remembered another movie about a lawyer.
Yeah.
Frank Gavin, The Verdict. 1982.
I've never seen that.
Newman.
You really should see it. Paul Newman was nominated for an Academy Award the same year that Ben Kingsley was nominated for Gandhi.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing about it was film critics at the time were actually arguing in paper who deserved the Academy Award before the awards were even given out.
Wow.
Frank Gavin plays a Boston lawyer, drunk, down on his luck type lawyer, used to be brilliant, but fell on some hard times. And a case was given to him by Jack Warden. And he just said, "Shut up, plead out, take the money." It was about a woman in a coma due to an accident that she was in, and they said she slipped into the coma, but the family is saying the hospital made a mistake. And Frank Gavin, this lawyer, finds out the hospital did make a mistake. The problem is the hospital is a Catholic hospital. He's going up against the Boston Catholic Church. And everyone's telling him, just shut up and take the money. And he can't. Because he knows they were wrong. It's kind of parallel to Atticus' story, but instead of dealing with rednecks, he's dealing with suits and lawyers. The opposing lawyer is played by James Mason. and they have a team
Oh,
of
wow.
about 19, 20, and it's him and Jack Warden doing the work. Miles O'Shea, an old character actor, plays the judge who will give him no breaks. And there is a scene that is devastating at one point in time when one of the priests looks at the archbishop and says, "Do you think Gavin's right? That there was a mistake that was made and covered?" Paul Newman is brilliant. Besides the fact that every time he leans down to have a drink, you want to have a drink with him because you actually feel that thirsty. But he's the everyman, and he kept saying, "This is the case. This is the case. You taught me this was the case. You always said when you have that case and you know you're right, you stand." He was saying this to Jack Warden. "You stand for this. This is the case." And it's amazing because he's very blue collar. I mean, in the beginning, he's kind of drunk chasing an ambulance for a case. That's how bad it was. But he comes back and you see him as he's fighting for this woman, he's fighting for himself. And to keep with the Bruce Willis aspect of it, when Paul Newman was doing his final summation, in the background, you see a young Bruce Willis, because this was the movie he got his SAG card on. There's a movie called Nobody's Fool that Bruce Willis did with Paul Newman. And Bruce Willis did it for no credit in the beginning. You didn't realize it until he walks on. And he's in it throughout the whole movie. And Bruce Willis said, "Because Paul Newman got me my SAG card." This is a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to see it. It's quite literally one of my top 5 films.
Okay.
And Newman is fantastic.
They don't do dramas that much anymore, and it's a shame.
That's correct.
It's one of the things that are definitely missing from cinema. They don't make movies for adults that much anymore. When you get instead are seasons of television,
right?
To sort of substitute. But just a 2-hour, fucking courtroom procedural, or a drama like this. Yeah, they don't exist anymore, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
And you can't make this into a Netflix movie.
Right.
It's not the same thing. Netflix movies are like Hemsworth and Extraction. They're great films, but they're not this. And this is a fantastic film.
If you haven't seen
as good as it gets. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, see it.
You might be able to. It might be one of those things you can pull up on Tubi at this point. Under dramas, because nobody goes into the drama section anymore, and for these sorts of things. It's a shame.
All right, as much fun as this has been, guys, I got a boogie.
Oh. John, thank you for stopping by, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Take care, John.
Be well again soon.
Be well.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, John K. Alvarez, everyone. Back to work.
Everyone's number one hero, John K. Alvarez.
Indeed, number one, all the way. Let's just cancel it from here on.
All right, good night, everybody.
All right, good night, everyone. All right, so that brings us to Ryan, your number one selection.
All right, this took me a while, but I really thought about it, and he's not an action hero.
No, he's not.
He's not really an everyman, but he is a spiritual hero, a complete badass. My favorite prophet of the Old Testament, Moses. Moses in the 10 Commandments. There he is right there. All right. Moses is the man. All right. And we know the story of Moses, obviously, but what gets me about this character is his transformation, his spiritual transformation. When he goes up on the mountain to see the burning bush and then comes down, looking like that, his hair is all gray. He's just walking with this trance. He's just filled with the Holy Spirit. He's filled with God. He becomes God's messenger. And the stuff that he does is so metal with the staff that turns into a snake
Yep.
The turning the river into blood. He is just a complete badass. When he walks into the Pharaoh's hall, and what kingdom do you come from? He's like, the kingdom of the Most High, and just shoves the guy away. I mean, it's a great character transition when you see him, like I said in the beginning of the movie, as the Prince of Egypt, you know, and then when he finds out that he had Hebrew parents, he voluntarily like joins the slaves, and then they mock him and throw him out. And that shot of him where he turns back, he's at the end there where there's that big pillar, and he's got his scepter and his robe, and he's just like kind of looks back for a minute like, you're gonna do this to me? Like, you just did me dirty. And then he just wanders into the desert. He's just a great character. I love Moses in the Bible anyway. He's one of my favorite, like I said, my favorite prophet. He's a huge badass. I would compare him to Odysseus as an epic hero. And just the stuff that he does for, like, I think in the movie they call him the sword of God, because he's just, when he's up there parting the Red Sea and leading them through, it just, and during the Passover scene, when the angel of death is going through, that is my favorite scene in the movie. And you just, the way he's able to keep everybody calm when they're at Passover, they're eating, and the women are getting upset because you hear people screaming outside as their children are dying. And he's just this kind of stalwart. He's got this resolve about him. And he even is upset when he finds out that God is going to kill all the firstborn. His reaction to that is like, he didn't want it to go that far, you know, but he just, I don't know. He's my favorite movie hero because he's just a total, like I said, he's a spiritual hero, and he just, everything he does is just powered by God. I mean, he's just awesome. So
I like you said, I always love the idea that he just gave up everything for the truth.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a truth that was any material benefit for him. It was all material loss. Like he was going to lose. He was like the Prince of Egypt, like the movie.
Yeah.
And he went, you know, he knew that if he admitted to, you know, what his real lineage was, he was going to lose everything, and he just did it. I mean, if that isn't a definition of a hero, I don't know what is. And there's also another version of this called Gods in Egypt with Christian Bale as Moses, and it's an interesting interpretation. It's an interesting.
There's an animated movie called Prince of Egypt that my wife
that's
really
good.
loves.
Val Kilmer.
And Ray Fiennes is Pharaoh.
And it's one of the few movies. Like, again, my daughter's at the age where you got to twist her arm to sit down and watch a movie. You know what I mean? And my wife, it was movie night, and she picked that. And my daughter sat down and she really liked it. My wife was kind of getting into it, and, you know, with her. And she says, "Well, what did you think?" She said, "It was a really good movie, but it was really sad." You know, so she was able to pick up on a lot of the stuff that happened. So
and I love,
it's a hard story, man. It's a hard story. A lot of death and a lot of violence.
And I love.
I've always thought that they should do a movie of the 40 years in the desert with the serpents.
Yeah, with Joshua.
You know, I always wanted to see an interpretation of that, where, you know, he holds the scepter up with the bronze serpent and heals the people.
I love his righteous anger when he came off the Mount Sinai with the commandments, and they're down there partying. And
his own brother,
and he just throws that shit right on the golden.
You don't deserve this,
yeah. He's like, because you know what? I brought you people to freedom, and this is how you're going to repay God. Come on, you know, that's how you're going to.
It goes on. That goes on for quite a while. A while in the story.
And it's got a great cast too. I mean, Edward G. Robinson is a dickhead. You know, and it was a little weird seeing him. Yeah, it was weird seeing him playing Egyptian, but you know,
Yul Brynner. Was it John Derrick?
Yeah, and John Carradine was Aaron.
Yeah, John Carradine is Aaron. Yeah.
It's
That's
really
a DeMille
film. Movie. You know, I was flip flopping between this and Ben-Hur. Because I love them both. Ben-Hur's awesome too, but I went with this one because it's Moses. I mean, you know, it's it. So
it's a great Palm Sunday. It's a good Palm Sunday watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, always on Palm Sunday.
Yep.
All right, Bill, what do you got for us? Your number one pick.
All right,
Coming to a close.
This one leaped to mind the second you told me the theme of this week's show. It was the first one on the list. It may seem like a cliche, but that's because this person is the total package. It's basically the archetype for literary heroes for the last 40, 50 years.
We should do 5 favorite wrestlers.
Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino,
Mr. Fuji.
I can't do the whole list right now. It's got.
Wait, hold on, but John, before you go, I saw this great meme one time, and it said, I can't remember if it was real or if somebody wished it were happening. Like towards the end of his life, Mr. Fuji worked like a concession stand in a movie theater, and they said, can you imagine what had happened if someone said there wasn't enough salt on their popcorn?
Boom!
He threw a whole fucking plow of salt right in their eyes. I'll give you some salt, you motherfucker. All right, go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
All right, yeah. My number one hero is Jimmy the Superfly Snuka.
Yeah, Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, gosh.
We should do that. Top 5 wrestlers.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
Now I'm confused. No, it's Aragorn, Strider, the Ranger of the North.
Okay.
Attaboy.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't pick him then.
Well, I mean, you could have, but
no, I know, but I didn't want overlap. So
yeah, there's not much I can say that hasn't been said. There's so much ink that's been spilled over the last 20 years since the movie came out. But yeah, it was my favorite character from the moment I started reading the books back in 1981. It's Aragorn Strider.
It's not just the character; it's the casting.
Yeah,
Vigo just fucking gets it fucking like right to the fucking wall, man.
And he was actually like 10 hours. He was the second choice for the role.
Yeah, who was the first? Again?
A guy named Stuart Townsend.
No.
He played Dorian Gray in that crappy
League of Extraordinary
Gentlemen.
He played Lestat in Queen of the Damned. Oh no.
Yeah. He was the first choice, and he had, I think, creative differences with Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson just told him, "You suck. Get off my
set." Exactly. Get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah.
Get away from my camera.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else playing it but Vigo.
Yeah, man, Vigo was cool. He's awesome.
Man.
It's like when you think about Walter Matthau was supposed to be in Star Wars and you just can't see it.
No,
same
really?
Thing, you know,
who was he going to play?
Obi-Wan. I mean,
with you.
That would have been awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, Walken was going to be Han Solo.
That's right.
Jesus.
Oh my God, this would have been 10 times better than what we got right now. Holy shit! This would have been.
She made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. You know.
Walken would have shot first, no fucking problem. He would have pulled out a 45.
But man, Matthau was Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
God. Yeah, but Aragorn too. See, Aragorn also is kind of the archetypal ranger character, like in the books. Like he was like Dungeons and Dragons and all those role-playing games and stuff. Their ranger character is modeled on him. Absolutely. You know, the guy who lives out in the woods. He has a bow and arrow and a sword. He's capable. He could communicate with animals and this and that and the other thing, you know. Yep. But what I thought was interesting in the movie is that in the book, he knows he's king. He's happy to be the king. But in the movie, they kind of made that like, oh, he doesn't want to be the king because they wanted to add more kind of like drama to it. But it worked. Yeah. He's awesome, man.
I love in the director's cuts after the Battle of Battle of Gondor.
Yeah.
In the Battle of Gondor, like he shows in the director's cuts, he shows that he has healing ability. Like he goes around, you know, like healing the people and hearing Eowyn, healing her from the poison that she got from fighting Angmar.
But that's part of his lineage, the Dunedain.
The Dunedain.
And, you know, it's funny. We just watched I introduced my daughter to Lord of the Rings. We're halfway through Two Towers, but man, and I haven't seen those movies in so long. But that scene in Fellowship of the Ring on Weathertop when he's fighting off those Nazgul is awesome. And he's got that torch, and he's just like that's such a cool scene.
It's the best. It's the best acting in the whole all three movies is when he defeats a bunch of orcs. And then the camera rises, and you see down the hill. There's just more orcs, and you just look. The look on his face is like, "Fuck! I just got done with all this." But the resolve on his face, where he's just like, "All right, it's time."
And that he's selfless. Like at the final battle when he turns and says for Frodo and runs in, like because they realize Frodo, everybody else is expendable. Frodo has to get to his goal. Even if Aragorn dies in the process, it's that doesn't matter.
It would have been really easy to screw this character up because he's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like he's a perfect person, and so it would be really easy to play that wrong.
That's why he got rid of Stewart. You know what I mean? Jackson said no.
Yeah, it would be really easy to just be aloof and to play it above, and he's not like that. He's suffering. And
he's grounded.
He's heartbroken about, having to leave his woman behind. And, when he thinks that, the hobbits have been taken, and that he's failed here and he's failed there, it would, Mortensen makes it human. He makes him human. He's more than human because he's Dunedain, but he makes him very human.
Yep.
Well, he's human. He's just a longer lived. The Dunedain live longer. Like in that one deleted scene or that one extended scene, Eowyn asks him, she figures out that he's a Dunedain, and he's like, I'm 87 years old or something like that. Yeah.
It's a great pick. It's a great choice. It's a great character. Good call.
It's total package.
Well, it's not Lex Luger, so he's pretty good. He's a
total package.
Did Aragorn slam Yokozuna? No. Well, then then he's not right. So.
All right, I'll go back to Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Stand the man Stasiak with the heart punch, right there in the fucking.
Ivan Putski in a Polish
hammer. Yeah.
Mike, if we did do top 5 wrestlers, I know who your number 1 would be.
Oh yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, and obviously it's gonna be Flair. One of my favorite Monday Nitros was I think it was Alex Wright or somebody was attacking Flair. And he starts ripping his suit, and like Tony Schiavone's freaking out. He's ripping Ric Flair's Armani suit, and like Flair fucking realizes the suit's being. He starts beating the shit out of Alex Wright. It's fucking great. Professional wrestling is Professional wrestling is, like even Jordan Peterson talks about it, it's a morality tale. It's like the most obvious example of good versus evil, every fucking time, and it's just the hero's always chasing, the fucking villain, trying to go over, and he rarely if ever gets to do it, and then it doesn't last long. Right. That's the dynamic. Otherwise, what would be the point of watching it, So
Stone Cold said so.
Yeah, it's exactly right. He is the perfect anti-hero. He is the perfect anti-hero. The idea that everybody hates their boss and would just like to get out of here, you stupid cat, and would love to beat
their cats.
Their boss. Yeah, their cat that too. They'll punt you across the room. Goddamn thing. All right, so let's keep moving. Eric, your number 1 selection. Who's at the top of the list for my man Eric? What do you got for me?
If we would have done this list a year ago, this guy would not have been up there. Okay. The fact that I went through this franchise within the last year for my own channel, and if you're doing it for a discussion video, you're sitting down, you're actually watching from beginning to end, no phone, none of that shit. 5 films, nearly 40 years of this character. I've already mentioned Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis. We got to talk about Sylvester Stallone as John Rambo.
Yeah.
And I've already mentioned with Kyle Reese, I love that tortured hero. And you can't get more tortured, in my opinion, even for personal attachment than a Vietnam War veteran because of what happened over there and what happened when they came back. But he starts off, he is a war hero. And some people consider what he did in First Blood a heroic effort for what he did. But then you go through from, parts 2, 3, 4, and even Last Blood, they're all rescue missions.
I love Last Blood.
Last Blood is, I put that right under First Blood as my number 2 of the franchise. And what I love about this is he's just a regular Joe. You know what I mean? He's a Green Beret, so he's got all the skills that we don't have, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. But he was just a guy who went to go fight for his country, and he came back to nothing, and it just got worse and worse and worse for him. But what is also heroic about him is, like, in part 2, he went to go save those POWs. He went to go save his men, his friends, his buddies, and he knew there was a 90% chance he wasn't coming back, but he didn't care. And then what I love about part 3, when Richard Crenna, hey, we need you to do it again. He basically says, no, I'm having fun with the monks. I'm fighting people for money. He basically says, fuck off, leave me alone. Richard Crenna has to go get his dumbass captured. Rambo has to leave his peaceful life to go save his friend and mentor. Part 4, he's so disheveled, he literally says, fuck the world, because you have these missionaries wanting to change the world, air quotes, in Burma. And he's like, you guys are fucking dumb. They screw up, they get captured. He has to go into the lion's den and save them. And then, even though it's 2019, it's newer, but it's been out long enough. His foster daughter, I'm assuming, because it's kind of vague with, the connection. She goes to meet her real dad in Mexico.
Oh my
and then
God.
She gets sold into a sex trafficking ring.
Holy shit.
And he goes to rescue her, and it doesn't end pretty. Rambo gets this shit beaten out of him. And we've never seen Rambo like that.
Yeah.
But then at the end, when the rescue mission is successful, but the outcome isn't what we expected. I mean, when that happened with his niece, my wife, she was watching, she's like, holy shit. She didn't expect that to happen. And then, he's standing his ground on the farm when the rest of the bad guys come, and he just, it's just a bloodbath. He is this character that, like I said, the tragedy helps with the heroism, in my opinion. And again, from war hero to, going back into the Vietnam POW camps to rescue those guys, being betrayed by his own company in part, and his own country in part 2. You know what I mean? They ditch him and leave him. And then he has to go through all that again, being tortured in the same country he was tortured 20 years prior, maybe 30. My timeline is real vague right now, but it's just a fantastic character. And one of my first episodes ever on this show, Mike, was we talked First Blood.
First Blood.
And I talked about how Stallone is underrated and underappreciated as an actor. People think, Demolition Man, or, all the parodies, like by early 90s, Jim Carrey was parodying him, in Rocky, stuff on In Living Color. And he's got the accent, he's got the drawl. People think he's not a smart man. Sylvester Stallone is super smart, intelligent, but he is a very good actor. He's a great actor. And the problem is they just associate him with this drawl, his voice and stuff, and they think he's a dumbass 90s action star. And if you watch, like, I watched these 5 films in sequential order within like maybe a couple weeks, you can see the growth of this character, the growth of Stallone's acting, and it's just such a great performance in all those 5 films from beginning to end.
It would be easy to either have selected this or Rocky Balboa.
I was thinking Rocky. It might have been Rocky if I didn't do this retrospective on my channel, because I also love the underdog. But just seeing what Rambo went through from part 1 all the way to part 5, that's heroism to me. With going to where he had to go to rescue these people.
No, well, it's hard to believe that this particular character has made it for 4 decades.
Mm-hmm. Well, have you ever read the book?
Yeah,
it's a lot different.
First Blood, yeah.
It's a lot.
Dies in that. Troutman shoots him at the.
Yeah, Troutman shoots him. Yeah. That's
a
great book. It's one of those ones you could read. It's David Morrell. You can read it in like an afternoon. It's like one of those casts on your couch on a rainy day.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think Stallone doesn't get his due a lot. Like I said, my favorite performance of his, and I've said this before, is Copland. He's great in that movie.
Great movie.
I mean, it's a great movie, and he's awesome in that because he's playing against type.
Yep.
He's playing this dumb, half-deaf, fat, police sheriff of this small town that's run by cops, and they think they can take advantage of him. I mean, it's got its action moments, but it's not like an action movie, really.
It's not.
I mean, it's really he's got his range, but I think some people just associate him with,
I love him
Rocky.
now in Tulsa King.
What's that?
I love him now in Tulsa King. Tulsa King is great.
What's that?
I've heard.
He's it's on Paramount Plus. He's got a new series, and he is a mob boss who's just been released from prison after 25 years. He just served 25 years as a New York mobster, and like cheap, like a boss. But the new boss that's in charge doesn't want the competition, so he relegates him to Tulsa. We're going to give you Tulsa, and you can take over that. He's like, Tulsa? Like, I expected to be, compensated for 25 years of keeping my mouth shut. And he actually starts to turn Tulsa into something. He's kind of playing the anti-hero. He's not a nice guy. It's a different role for him, but it's cool to watch. You gotta love some Stallone. We got Willis, we got Schwarzenegger, we got Stallone. Yeah, we're checking some boxes here. We got Vigo, Bruce Lee, Costner, little Russell Crowe. We got Morgan Freeman in the list. It was a good list. Paul Newman. Who else? Kurt Russell, Clint Eastwood. Yeah, it's a good fucking list.
Gregory
but now,
Peck.
Gregory
You got Mike.
Yeah. Now we are at the final selection for the evening. The final number one for the evening, and I picked for this of all people another real life character who was portrayed in a movie that I've talked about before on this channel, although we didn't cover the film itself. And there are heroes, and then there are just heroes. And this guy, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen in the movie, he's my number one. I went with Ben Kingsley as Yitzhak Stern in Schindler's List.
Good one.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as you might like to say that, or you might think that Liam Neeson's character is the hero of the film, I've always kind of been of the opinion that Stern is the hero of the film and the moral center who consistently brings Liam Neeson around to the point where, he starts to see what's actually happening around him instead of trying to bang all the secretaries and just put all the money in his pockets that he possibly can. Schindler starts out as an amoral character. He's not a savage Nazi. He's not SS. He just wants to capitalize on the war and make as much money as possible and then get the fuck out of there. That Nazis are being killed, sure, it's a terrible thing, but what can I do? It's not, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm just here to make some pots and some pans and to do this kind of thing. And the fact that Stern is able to sort of open his eyes to the small little details and to see these individuals as people, all the while constantly under threat for his own survival, is a kind of presence of mind that just you don't see anywhere. I mean, he's in the middle of labor camps and the liquidation of ghettos, and he's trying to protect the entire community. Like, everybody looks to him for some help with something, and just doing as best he can at all times, sometimes failing, like the example with the boy while scrubbing at the bathtub. He's just a fucking hero. He's not an action star. He's not going to drop kick anybody. He's not pulling out an Uzi or an AK or anything like that. He just uses his heart and his mind. That's easily why he's my number one. So, that was, one of the, I might have picked Moses, but I went with Stern instead. And
I still haven't seen Schindler's List. It's going to be, on the list for movies this year.
What?
I've never known when to, because I got to be in the right mood for that type of movie. You know what I mean?
There is no mood for that movie, man.
Yeah. You know what I mean when I say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I got to know, like, this is the moment I'm going to sit down and watch it.
I saw it in.
I don't want to be in a mood where I'm going to like, okay.
Yeah. I had to see it on a
ready for
class
this
trip.
dark shit.
I had to see it on a class trip. My history class in 11th grade. We went to the movies and sat through that.
Woo.
Yeah. And
you also got to remember. I know it's a long movie. I also got a 12-year-old daughter at home, and I'm not going to have her walk in at the wrong moment. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to watch that with my kids around. Yeah.
I made.
It's one of those movies I don't need to see again. But
I own a copy of it. But it's not anything I'm ever in a mood to watch. Although there's some perfect performances in there.
Oh yeah, it's great. But it's one of those ones like you've seen it once.
Yeah,
that's enough.
Good. I'm good. I made the mistake of going to see it on Super Bowl Sunday. That didn't work out too well. So yeah.
Well, that's Spielberg said after that movie, he refused to make Nazis like silly characters like they were in the Indiana Jones movies. Yeah. He said because this was just such a personal thing for him. But man, it's tough.
Yeah,
tough to watch. Yeah.
All right. Anybody got anything they want to plug? We've been going at it for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Ryan, anything?
Nope.
Productions?
Nope. Nothing.
Bill,
enjoying
anything?
My summer. Nothing.
Not this week.
All right. If Eric ever puts his headphones back on, we can see if he's got something to plug for his channel. Let's give him a couple seconds. 5. Okay. Eric, plug something.
YouTube channel. Hey, Internet Eric here. Like I've already said a couple times, I'm discussing movies that I've never seen. A lot of them we've discussed tonight. I'm going through that Wreck franchise still. I've been doing it for a month.
We got to do 3 and 4. We got to stream on 3 and 4.
The video for 4 is now up. An interesting way to end that original series. I'm also doing something with Patrick. We're doing we've challenged each other. He knows I don't want to do those stupid fucking shark movies anymore. Well, he convinced me to do it as long as I can also make him sit through 5 shitty schlocky movies. It's the only way I would do it. So every Wednesday. You
know what the foil for Patrick is? You have to actually make him watch a good movie. That's what will drive Patrick up a fucking.
Well, I know some real bad garbage movies that like not even
he enjoys
would
that.
Watch.
He enjoys that.
No, he's not going to enjoy what I'm making him watch. But every Wednesday, I'm watching a movie. I watched one called Swamp Shark with Ryan's girl Christy Swanson. It was not bad for a made for sci-fi movie. And then my video for Shark Huntress is up, and that was a piece of dog shit.
That's kind of an oxymoron. Not bad for a sci-fi movie.
Why don't you just watch The Shallows, like I told you about, like 2 years ago?
Because, like I said, as of last year, I didn't want to do any more shark movies, and the reason why I'm doing it is because I can make Patrick feel just as bad as me when we're doing this.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Well, some of the shit I made him sit through.
Gasoline.
You'll find out.
Does he watch all those guys of crazy? Is that all he watches?
Of course he does.
Yeah, but he trust me, I can dig deep to find some really bad garbage movies that not even he would like. And
that's what I'm trying to outdig in the mud with a
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him with both barrels right in the forehead this month. But after that, I also have a video for Quarantine scheduled for next week because now I'm doing the remakes and. Per request of Marty over at Trash Picture Show, and if John was still here, it'd be for him too because I know he really likes it. I also will have a video for that movie from 1997 called The Relic with Tom Sizemore. It's a big, good,
man.
Nice creature.
That was a good one.
Creature feature. The monster gets loose in the Field Museum in Chicago, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. That came out around the same time as Mimic. A lot of people get them confused.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah.
Relic was 97. I know that.
Yeah. All right. For this channel, we will be back next week for Grumpy Catholic Hour with me, Bill, and Grumpy Catholic Asshole. Maybe that's what we'll call it or something like that. And our other friend, Dr. James, are going to be on here discussing Nefarious, which is an interesting demonic film it's kind of more the mentality of the demonic rather than the spectacle that you get in a typical possession movie.
I've enjoyed what I've seen.
Yeah, with Sean Patrick Flannery, one of the best performances. People were hoping this was going to get some sort of award nomination. It did not, of course, because it's a faith-based possession movie, so Hollywood's not going to pay any attention to it. But it's just a superior film.
Yeah.
One of the better ones you'll see. Eric, let's talk. Maybe we can get a Friday or something in, or maybe we can get a Stephen King in next week or something some other day.
Sure. You know,
the only
night I'm not available.
Yeah,
the only night I'm not available is Tuesday, so we'll get in. I was going to suggest 1408 again for John. Maybe we can see if he's available. You can see his schedule, and maybe he can join in because I know John really likes 1408.
Yeah, all right. Well, so let's chat about it tomorrow or something over the weekend and see what we can put together. All right, that is it. It has been 2 hours and 45 minutes of Heroes. I'm fucking
Bill needs to go to bed.
Out. Yes, and Bill needs to go home and he needs to go watch some professional wrestling and get those old Lex Luger tapes.
George the Animal Steel.
George the Animal Steel. Baron Miguel Cicluna with the claw. He's going to be putting the fucking claw on people.
That was the one.
Bill's going to go eat the turnbuckle and then go to bed.
You know what was a good movie, though, was the wrestling movie.
The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was good.
So good.
Real good.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's a fucked up movie, though.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up
Look
movie.
at this. Look at the source material.
Yeah, it's a fucked up family. It's a
fucked up story.
All right, my thanks to the Ryan Daly. Nice to see you again. Hopefully not so long till the next time. My thanks to Billy. Don't be a. It's my work computer.
Yo.
And with my thanks to Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here.
Of course.
Thanks everybody in the chat. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.
God bless
Cheers.
you. Bye-bye.